You might be one of the only ones showing up with a suppressor already.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I'm pumped.
Yeah. I think they'll have a bunch of them there.
Dude, I'm very excited for it. And just so you guys know, I've been listening to your I've been like binging your podcast.
Like,
no shit.
You're the fourth listener.
Yeah. We had 3.
I'm that guy that's hitting the thumb every time you guys post it up.
Nice.
Smashing that thing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you'll.
I love it, dude.
You'll like the shooting. It's good course, especially because you've seen a lot of. I'm sure you've seen a lot of disasters in the woods. A guy's coming apart.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's like the
under a time crunch for sure.
Yes,
like it's very relatable.
Yeah, my uncle or early Chris Cornelius is like they've had absolute buck fever.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, dude, but you know what though, man? When you're guiding people and they have that, it's really easy to like bust their balls about it.
Oh,
people don't realize that like when you're guiding, you have a free pass because you can talk shit about them constantly. You can blame it on them, right?
Yeah.
You can be like, you can blame it on them and be like, in your mind, you can always justify that you would have done better.
Oh.
But the reality is if you're guiding really hard, you're not actually hunting that much yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you don't actually get in the position all that often. You're just an observer. You know what I mean?
It'll be funny shit though. Elk walks away. You're like, fuck, man, what did you do? What did you do?
Well, dude, guides progress where they realize that, they start to understand reality, but newer guys are totally like that. Like, you get back in the guide tent and it's just like a shit talking session about the clients, but then once you do it a while, then you realize like, guys, it's not like we're here to make it easier for them, not to just go out there and watch them do it and then come back to the tent and talk shit about it.
Yeah, and all that is actually it's 50% your fault.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they're not ready, they don't like the classic thing I always tell guides that work for me, like if an elk's there or a bear or whatever you're hunting, if the opportunity arises and the guy looks at you and he's like, well, like what position should I get in? You've kind of already failed as a guide because you should have discussed it beforehand. But that's that's classic stuff a newer guide does.
But once a guy like fucks it all up, does it kind of take the pressure off of you as far as killing an animal? Well, if that guy fucked up the whole shot and he had to give me 300 yards and it was a shit show, he missed or he didn't get a shot off, does that take the pressure off you?
I mean, I think there's a little bit of that, man, but it varies on the hunt a little bit because, man, I've guided like the whole spectrum of hunts, right? I've guided hunts where it's like, okay, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's archery or rifle. I've guided guys where they mess up an opportunity that should have been a slam dunk. And then 3 hours later, we're back into elk. But man, I've also guided hunts that's like 6 days of grinding, finally get a shot. They screw it up. And it's like devastating because they're not going to have another chance.
They probably know that too. They know the amount of work. I think it all depends on the guide himself. I mean, guides can have a good day or bad day. They can wake up sore or not sore. They can sleep or not sleep. And maybe the older a guide gets, the less exciting it is anymore. Like for example, we take an old hunter versus a new hunter.
Yeah.
I see a fucking little 5-point, man, I'm fired up.
Oh, sure.
I'm ready to go. Whereas so I'm the new guide. Ryan's the old fucking guide. And if they need a 360 or a 400 now, he ain't even looking at it. Yeah, he's the old guide, right? So that 5-point that would have got me excited as a new hunter, Ryan's like, yeah, there's a fucking elk over there.
Yeah.
That one's okay for you. You want to shoot that? Okay, go ahead and shoot that one.
I think
whereas I'd be fucking, yeah, man, I look at the fucking big ass 5-point over there.
There's an element of that, but again, dude, it varies on where you're at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's like, I've hunt different places where, I mean, there's still, over-the-counter tags and stuff that in wilderness areas that I guide. And if it's a legal bull, I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hey, dude, if you're not interested, there's guys back at camp. I'll go get
There
one.
you go. Or it's the discussion, hey, you might pass on this one now. This might be the only elk you see in the next 6 days.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. People, I mean, you guys know how it is. Like, it's hard out there. It doesn't matter if you know the country or not,
Yeah.
Everybody's ready to start. We can still use that, but are you guys ready? You ready?
Yeah, man.
Yo, you're a fucking professional. I don't know why I'm asking.
I don't know about that.
My boys put me on a shooter hunt. You gotta check this out, Mike. Mike, you gotta check this podcast out. So I gave it a listen. The episode I listened to was 38 and it was talking about murder bunnies. I'm sitting there on shrooms. Next thing you know, man, I'm put the fear in them bunnies' eyes, man. I ripped their hearts out. It was ferocious, but I was faster. I was quicker. I moved quicker. Swift. Ate the souls, man. I ate the souls. Nothing was stopping Iron Mike. I'm crazy, and no one understands me but me. I'm not even a hunter, but sometimes I just listen to them. There is a reason Shoot to Hunt exists. Don't say I didn't tell you so. Mike out.
You guys hire this guy on like Fiverr or something?
That's him.
That was Luke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's got now he's got Mike up here. No, it was Mike.
He's done. He's done Borat. He's done.
Shit.
He has lots of voices.
Yeah. I heard
Yeah.
the Borat one. I listened to it. It's pretty good, man. I love it.
We got to bring Borat back.
Yeah, it's a love-hate. It's a 50% hate the fucking Borat, 50% love it.
I got you.
So, but he's full of good. He's entertaining.
Some days you can watch Borat and laugh, and other days you can't.
Yeah, I like Borat. I'm talking about Luke's entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Some days he's entertaining and some days he's not.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
Oh, I didn't know a Cliff until about, I don't know, a year ago, until I met the Suppressor Cliff.
Yeah.
And now we have a Cliff in the studio. And I always fucking text the wrong Cliff.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be talking to Cliff Gray, and I'll text Cliff Brewer, and be like, "Oops, wrong person."
I was gonna say that's horrible too, because then you got to tell him that he's not important. You got to say, "Oh, sorry, wrong Cliff."
Well, when I'm asking about Mules,
I don't like
he
that.
knows he's like this wrong Cliff. Like Cliff Brewer already says wrong Cliff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a real common name, man.
It's not.
No, you know
It's
you know
not.
what's
A little closer, bud. A little closer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
What's
you
fun-
can pull it towards you.
What's funny is this last week I was guiding with. Do you know Cade Cole?
I've talked to him a few times on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So his son's name is Cliff. And
No
so
way.
yeah. So he's sitting there telling these hunters around the campfire. He's like, "Oh yeah, I walked out in my front yard, right before I came on the hunt, and Cliff was out there peeing in front of the UPS."
And you're sitting there like,
No, wrong Cliff.
Yeah.
Wrong Cliff.
Well, everybody assumes hunting guides are fucking degenerates anyway, so they weren't that surprised,
That's
but
funny.
it's
Cliff-
kind of funny.
Cliff Gray with an A, not an E. He made that very apparent to me when I texted him one day. He says it's with a fucking A.
I think it's with the E is the color and with an A is a name generally.
Yeah, I think that's generally the case.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, didn't know that.
Yeah.
But he tuned me right up. So you're coming off of, well, first of all, I guess most people listening will probably know who you are. But for those that don't know who you are, can you give us a high level of Cliff Gray over the last 20 years?
Yeah, man. So I ran an outfitting business in the flat tops for about 12 years, primarily like a horse operation. And it was primarily an elk hunting business. And then I bought that, I guess that'd be 14 years ago. I grew that. And then I kind of expanded across Colorado. I was doing a bunch of sheep and goat stuff and that sort of thing. And then I had a business in British Columbia, like a booking business. And then I'd take a bunch of guys up there. So I expanded into that and Spring Bear deal. And then I enjoyed that, man, growing that business and doing the whole thing. I came from an outfitting, cattle ranching family, so it wasn't too unfamiliar. But in my early 20s, I did some other stuff and kind of swung back to outfitting. And then now it's been 3.5 years. I sold my business. I ran it for 1 year. It's actually been 4 years. I ran it for one season. And it's kind of a weird deal because honestly, man, I thought it'd take me like 5 years to sell that business because of the horse component and just all, it takes kind of a unique guy. And I sold it in like 10 days. I think it was like fate. The right guy was looking. I had a great crew at the time. They still run it. And I was just sitting there looking around like, what am I gonna do now? Thought I had like 5 years runway.
10 days from the day you put it for sale.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, dude, I never really put it for sale. I just kind of put the word out. And 10 days from there, it was under contract. So yeah. And then I was like, all right, what am I gonna do? And I figured I would do a little mini retirement. And then within like 6 months, I started getting bored. You know how that goes. And for whatever reason, the social media stuff picked up and been doing the YouTube deal and all that. And I continue to guide. So I think this year I'm probably guiding, 85 days or something like that.
Nice.
So that's a short and sweet.
Short and sweet. I'd like to back up a little bit before that. And I know a little bit more of your backstory if you pay attention to it, which you have a very interesting story. And it's like, you were a finance guy. How does a finance guy say, fuck it, I'm going to buy an outfitting business?
Yeah. So again, it wasn't complete. You'll see this theme, dude. Like it's not super, like not all my decisions are super calculated. But that's all right. So I ran a finance business with my brother. We started it when I was in my early 20s. He still runs it to this day, and it's morphed into a much bigger thing and taken a different direction. But really what it came down to, man, is I think people want my answer to be that like the corporate world, the finance world, all of that is just, like it's like disgusting or boring or a waste of your life or whatever. It's not that, man, because there's components of it that I really liked, like the intellectual stimulation, all that stuff. It's a constant puzzle. Building any business is fun, as you guys know. So it's not that. But the thing for me, man, is I could not live in an urban environment, period. I just can't. I tried it, man. Like I lived in Chicago, I lived in Dallas, I lived in New York, I lived in San Francisco. And finally, you got to be like honest with yourself, man. Like it's not going to work. I grew up as an outdoors kid, hunting, and all of that. So I think that was like the biggest component for me where I'm like, you're not necessarily on a whim, but I was like, okay, I'm out. There's no way that I can sacrifice that component of my life. So that's when I made the transition, sold my part of that business to my brother. And I literally just, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we flew back to Colorado, and I was like, oh, let's go back. I was from that area, that Eagleville Valley area. And we skied for 6 months. And then, man, it was like, I want to say it's like third week October, which is kind of like the transition phase. If you're an outfitter, it's like you might have you might have some snow, might be still dry, might be easy outfitting, but the hunting's tough. It's like you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But I drove up to a place that was adjacent to where my dad's old outfitting permits were, and where my dad's old outfitting permits were has all been developed. Like there's really that it's not like a real functional business anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys in the flat tops always had a big business. For whatever reason, that day I drove up there with my my girlfriend. I remember, man, going to the very end of the road, and I saw this old guy walking down the switchbacks, and I pulled up next to him, and he was walking just a single mule down the snow, and it was unusually like deep snow. Like they already had knee, thigh deep snow, and I rolled up on him, and this mule was hurt, and he's just walking him down. I got to talking to him about it. It turned out that in this, over several of different events, he had ended up buying these permits. And I was like, Jim, you ever think about selling them? And he looked at me and he's like, son, you better fucking believe it. And within 2 weeks, I had that business under contract. I wasn't even really thinking about buying one. You know what I mean? But so I had it, and I really thought it'd be like a hobby, and because they were only doing like 5-6 hunts. And then I just started growing it. And by the time I like maxed that business out, I think I was doing, maybe 200 hunts when I sold it on those permits.
A year.
Yeah. 150 or like 175, 200 or something.
So you bought it and sold it in under a month.
No,
Contract wise. Under contract, like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
10
dude,
days you sold
I didn't have to deal with I didn't have to deal with any prolonged deal stuff.
Jesus. Were you a horse kid growing up?
Well, yeah. So that was a big component of it, man, is like I got lucky in the sense that I was always around livestock as a kid.
Gotcha.
So I don't remember, we had mules and horses at varying degrees my entire childhood. So when my dad was packing, we had horses and mules,
Mm-hmm.
when I was like my younger childhood. And then, I was in high school and stuff. I was a team roper and all that. So I had exposure to the horse deal, which if you're not in that world, you don't realize like how big of a component it is. In terms of like the wilderness, horseback, packing type of outfitting, dude, that's way more important than the hunting part. You know what I mean?
You mean the experience, the whole deal with it?
Well, yeah, and also just running a business.
Logistics.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, like running a business, knowing how to take care of horses and mules, all that stuff makes it, that's way more, people get into the business and they think, the most comical thing to me, Ryan, is guys want to get into that kind of outfitting because they're a good hunter. And it's like, dude, honestly, that's irrelevant. if you do it long enough, you're going to get pretty good just by repetition.
Yeah.
But you got to know how to deal with the mountains and deal with the packing and all that. That's what matters,
How many, when you bought it, how many horses did it come with, or mules?
So when I bought it, I think he had he had way more than he needed for what he was doing. I think he had like 25 or 30. I think when I sold it, I think I had 75 or something. Yeah, I think those guys now have over 100 because they bought a couple other. What I did was I worked with some other outfitters across the state to do sheep and goat hunts and like other species. And I think this is public, so it's not a big deal. But they basically bought the other permits that I was working with, so they expanded into that.
Was it, you just came out of the Selway, and it's the Selway, I don't even know the odds. They're in the low percentage, under 5% of like harvests. Is the flat top similar? Is it pretty low density?
So I would say it's similar. I dare say like quality of hunting, right? In terms of like success rates, pretty similar. It's way different country. The flat tops is really good horse country. I mean, you can keep horses at 12,000 feet there for weeks,
Big plateaus, right?
Plateau, yeah. Yep. And you can cover ground a little bit easier, But on the flip side of that, the Selway, if you're hunting with horses that are in good shape, you could also get into some good country. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, in terms of like the success rates, it's similar, man. It's hard hunting, fluctuate. It it's got a lot, like particularly the rifle side of stuff varies a lot based on conditions. It's like you have 1 week that you're struggling to kill anything. And then the next week, like your meat shed's just so full of shit. You can't fit another elk in there. It's like that kind of variability,
What did you like on the horse and mule side? What did you learn that obviously was vastly different from growing up, like long trips, corrals, feed, water? Like as far as logistics side, what was the learning curve like for that?
You mean like just
generally keeping a frickin' equine in the woods that long?
Yeah. So part of it is I had a lodge and like a base pack station, and then we would go do hunts. Sometimes we'd keep, strings of horses in there. Sometimes we wouldn't. We'd string them out. But regardless, if we were in big camps and we were keeping horses in there for a week, 15 days or whatever, that actually in itself is problematic because if horses know where they can get home, way harder to take care of them in the mountains because any chance they get, they're going to roll.
Take off.
Yeah. So anyways, so I had that dynamic to deal with, but the biggest thing about horseback hunting, and pack-in hunting is you got to have some dedicated help. In the commercial sense, you can't be having like the guides and the cook can't take care of in a big established camp. You got to have somebody that their job is taking care of horses. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And then do the other thing, man, and I would say that I knew this as a kid, but I think in the business, it became more and more relevant, is you got to know, like when I tell you I had 70 horses and mules, like I knew every one of them, man, and I knew which, like if I could look at Leroy and I could tell you who his buddies were in my horses and mules. And that's relevant. It's relevant because hey, dude, if I tie up Maynard, Leroy, Ruth, and Jane are gonna stay. You know what I mean? So that's the dynamic.
They wouldn't leave. Leroy.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're if you're archery hunting, and there's always this thing, right? When you're outfit, like a little bit less, I think, if you're just going on one hunt a year, a couple hunts a year, you can peel a bunch of weight off your horses. Like you got to keep them. You got to keep their digestive tracts going. They got to eat some feed and stuff, but if they're losing a couple pounds a day, it's not that big a deal because they're going to get home. You're going to take care of them. They put weight back on. But if you're outfitting for 130 days straight, like you can't have them shed weight when they're up there. So it's always this deal of like making sure they get enough feed. And that's where knowing them makes a big difference because you can tie up the right ones and turn the other ones loose. They won't go anywhere, So it sounds, I'm not trying not to get like nitty gritty, but that's a big deal, you know?
One more horse question, Jake, then you can ask some questions. I got about 8 million horse questions.
Yeah, dude, we could go.
I think we're going to have a whole
love
separate podcast just on my fucking general mule and horse questions. What's like the biggest wreck you had with mules and horses?
Biggest wreck? Well, I mean, I've had wrecks where stuff die in them, you know, like horses and stuff die. Well, I shouldn't say. So usually when you have big wrecks, horses and mules don't die. But for your viewers that are not in that world, like if a horse breaks its leg, it's dead. You know what I mean? It's you can do all sorts of things to try to fix them, but particularly if you're in the backcountry, like they're dead.
You have to shoot them.
Yeah, you got to shoot them. So, and their legs are fairly fragile. Like if they have a big wreck and get tangled up and stuff, like things, you know, they break a leg or whatever, like you're going to shoot them. So I've had wrecks like that. You know, probably the craziest one I've ever had though, Ryan, is I had this mule named Abe, and he was like a big mule, but he's an idiot in the sense, or not idiot, but he was kind of oblivious. Like he wouldn't ever try to hurt you, but he'd just like walk over you. You know what I mean? He'd walk
pushy.
Over. Yeah, exactly. Pushy. Like he's just going to do his thing, you know? And we had these kind of notorious switchbacks that were under what we called main camp. And main camp is a camp I used to guide out of quite a bit. And it's on like a point between two drainages. And the thing about it is like under this camp, there's a conifer aspen transition area. The problem is that the aspens, once they lose their leaves, you get into November and you got a bunch of snow. But these switchbacks are going through those aspens, and what happens is it gets sun because there's no canopy, so it melts the snow. So depending on the time of day, you're either going through there and it's like sloshy, muddy snow, or it's straight ice. You know what I mean? So we had these switchbacks we would go through. Anyways, it's kind of like this kind of dying aspen grove, I guess you'd call it. And we're going up through there, and I'm in the front, and I hear the guys hollering, and I see Abe like slide off the trail. And a lot of time, and he's not packed because we're going in to get the camp out. And so a lot of times he just slides off, slips or whatever. Maybe he's like 5 feet off the trail, but he's just stuck there. And they'll do that sometimes. They'll just sit there because they're like kind of scared, you know? So I got off my horse. I go down the switchbacks, haul ass down there, and I get to the mule, and the first thing I'll usually do if they won't get up is I'll unsaddle them. Because the minute you pull the saddle off, they feel more comfortable. I think it's probably because like mobility, you know what I mean? All of a sudden they're not constrained, you know? So I pull his saddle off, and he pops up. He just hops up, feels good, and he eats shit. And I swear, man, when he ate it the second time, I just saw him go like head over heel, like boom, 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 down the hillside. And the thing is, it's like I recall it because on my mules, some of them I shoed the front feet, and some of them I shoed all their feet. And I remember seeing him roll down the hill and seeing all 4 feet were shod because I could see him shining. And it struck me as like whoever shoed him last time fucked up because I only shoe his front feet.
As he's rolling down the hill, that's what you're thinking about.
It just like
my goodness.
For some reason it popped in my head, and I was like, we don't put 4 shoes on.
That's why he's rolling.
Yeah, exactly. Blame it on that. But anyways, he's going down, and I'm thinking like he's dead, dude. And he's hitting these dead aspens. They're small, dude. They're like maybe 6-inch diameter aspens, but they're falling down, dude. And they're 30 feet tall, you know. So I'm like, he's freaking dead, you know. And I cruise down there, and I don't cruise down there. I like slide down in there, and along the trail, man, there's just like a slick of blood to him, like bad. And I'm like, oh man. And I get down to him, and it was crazy. It was like he's standing there, and it looked like somebody. You know how some of these knives have like a gut hook on them. I don't ever use them because they don't work all that great on elk because the elk are just too thick a hide, you know. But those guys that have those gut hooks, and it was like somebody had taken that mule and started at his shoulder and just run a gut hook like from there all the way as long as belly, like all the way back to his balls. But the thing about it is like they didn't go deep enough. So it was just
like a scratch.
Yeah, it's just like a deep scratch along his whole belly, man. And that's why he was bleeding so bad.
Yeah.
But he was good to go.
No shit.
Yeah. Like I couldn't believe it, man. I walked him up out of there, and he was, you know, I mean,
That's
obviously
amazing.
he had a healing process.
Yeah.
But I was like, how did he ever
break something?
Yeah, how did he go through that? And then you have other wrecks, man, that the dumbest. I mean, I had another wreck where we're walking through just downfall, no big deal. Like at a slow pace, no hurry, no nothing. Horse steps on a branch, the branch breaks, and the thing just spears the horse.
Oh.
Like just the stick's this long, and all of a sudden it's only this long because the rest is like stuck
Inside.
in.
Yeah.
Just impalement. No, it didn't kill him. It didn't kill him. Actually, I got lucky because my father was visiting, and he was at the lodge, and he's a vet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he became that's another kind of, which I think is a funny story at this point in my life, but he became a vet. He went to vet school in like his 40s. But but anyways, he was there, so he came up and it just missed vitals and stuff. Just pulled it out, drained it and all that stuff, and put like one of those little drains in it, and we walked the horse out.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. I imagine you have 100 of those stories.
Well, yeah. And the thing is like, it's funny because when you first ask me, when people ask, because people always want to hear about
absolutely,
Rex, it's always hard because they don't like click. But then once you start
telling me,
oh shit, dude, like we could talk about them for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because but the thing is, man, is I will say that avoiding horse wrecks is the goal.
Yeah.
And I do think that I used to always tell this to my guides and wranglers and stuff. If you're always telling horse wrecks, you need to kind of reassess like how you're doing things. Because you can get it down to very low chance. You know what I mean?
Well, it all goes down to what you were talking about, pairing up horses that like other horses and things like that. So if they're staring at their asses all day,
Right. Yeah. Or like basic logistical stuff. Like, don't weigh panniers with your hands if you can avoid them. Guys are like, oh, I'm pretty good. Yeah. I'm pretty good at guessing.
One's 35 and one's 50.
Exactly. I'm
15
good
pounds,
at
no different.
But when you get in a rough terrain, like if you can get them within a couple pounds, right there goes, that's 90% of your problems. You know what I mean? Because you're not stopping in weird spots to fix shit. Stuff just
works.
It sounds basic, but like make sure they're even.
I talked to an old packer and he's like, two things. Most wrecks are totally preventable.
Yeah.
And it is most time you see it coming before it happens and you just need to get off your horse or mule.
Oh, yeah.
I lied. I got one more question about equines. You can only choose one. This is actually a question that somebody sent me when I told them I was telling them. You can only choose one. You can have your best mule, saddle mule, or your best saddle horse. Which one you picking forever?
For me, it's a saddle mule.
Why?
And this might be like a little idiosyncratic to me, but I have gotten where, like, pound for pound, I much prefer riding a mule, and because my knees are so bad, and generally most mules will have for how much they can carry, there'll be a lot less width, so they're way more comfortable to ride, and like I don't feel bad. I mean, I routinely the last couple years of guiding, I would ride a 700-pound mule, like all day long.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because of the narrow?
Yeah.
And they're like V-shaped kind of?
Yeah. They just got they're a little more narrow. I mean, these are, sure, you can go find a horse that's got that body type and whatever, but in general, they can carry more per weight. I mean, that's proven by like if you go look at the old like cavalry books, I mean, they're putting like 40-50% of the body weight on a mule.
Oh, you're
day after day. Like brutal.
So like 1,000-pounder, they're putting 300 to 400 pounds on that.
Yeah,
thing?
if you look at the old cavalry stuff, like I never did. We were always like maybe with gear and everything 200, 225, or when we're packing them every day. But I mean, that's what they would shoot for, in those old manuals.
Yeah.
So they can absolutely. There's no doubt. Just genetically, mules can pack more per body weight than a horse and hold up. So that's my long answer. It makes you look like Pancho Villa or whatever, and all that.
On a little mule.
Yeah.
I can imagine Jake.
Ryan's little legs going like this.
Oh yeah, like Jake on like a 13-2.
Yeah,
he dragging his toes.
Yeah, but who gives a shit if your knees are hurting the whole time? Like I don't care. So that's my big deal. And then, dude, I'm biased, man, because like first animal I ever had was a mule named Willie, and you get these biases.
You get a bias, but you saw them perform on a big level.
Sure.
And then day in and day out, I don't know shit. I'm coming from this late onset equine owner. It's like I picked a mule simply because a dude I ran into the sellway. I saw him the first time and he had a horse and he had a bunch of mules, and then pretty soon he just had all mules.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you doing that? And he's like, I don't have to feed them as much. I don't have to take care of them as much. They don't drink as much water. They don't fuck around as much.
Yeah.
And I mean, taking them at their word, but that guy's done it for 40 or 50 years.
Yeah, but like, dude, the Selway and the salmon, that's mule country. Because it's
nasty.
Yeah. Well, and you like the water thing matters a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, if you got up there hunting all those ridges and stuff, you might not have water for 10, 12 hours. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So that matters. And then dude, I've seen.
Is that because the horses sweat more?
I don't know. I mean, that could be it. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it's just a genetic thing.
Like a donkey lives generally more arid areas or something?
Yeah, they're just adapted for it.
Yeah.
But you get into British Columbia and rarely will you see a mule because all that moose swamp crap and all that, their feet don't hold up because it's the donkey deal. They've just genetically adapted for a more arid environment. So almost nobody up there uses them, So there is a little bit of, it kind of matters where you're at a little bit. Yeah. But anybody that tells you that it's like, it's just personal preference. Yeah, kind of. But there's a place for both, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the horses, there's no way around it. They are more athletic, per horse.
Sure.
But like pure, it seems to me like pure tenacious, crappy situations, shitty day in and day out. A mule's just a little more hardy.
Oh yeah. They're for sure. They're more hardy. Their feet are better generally. Like there's a bunch of stuff like that. And the biggest thing, well, dude, I used to always say the biggest thing from an outfitter's perspective, but I actually think now when I think about it, applies even more to a hobbyist. Is a mule's working lifespan. Is really like damn near double your average horse.
We were just talking to Chris Cornelius. He had mules and horses, and he had a mule, and he had to get rid of him. And he has one that's still packing right now at a pretty good clip at 32.
I packed a bunch in like when they were 28, 29, 30. And
when does a horse peter out on that?
I mean, usually a horse will peter out by like in its early 20s, and it's like. See, the thing is, it's all progressive, right? It's like, okay, they're getting to be, I mean, sometimes horses that are 18, 19, 20, because you don't know what they did when they were young. They're just like us, man. If they were abused when they were young, if a guy's got like a team roping horse, right? And then all of a sudden, somehow you pick it up when it's like 11, 12 years old and it's a nice, gentle horse, but they're no longer roping on it, there's probably a reason. Probably because like he's getting sore or whatever, and they were using him as like an athlete. Well, when that horse is 20, you're filling him full of drugs just so he doesn't get sore. Well, so the longevity, it's just like people. You know what I mean? It's like it's that. So there's that component of it. But man, you rarely see one that's packed day to day or day on, day off, day on. That a horse that's over 21, 22 years old.
You guys carry anything in the field to like juice one up to get them home? What do you carry?
So there's two drugs that are pretty widely used. Fembutazole, Bute they call it. And my understanding is, and some of this I might be a little bit off on, but my understanding is it's what's ibuprofen? What is it called?
NSAID?
Yeah, it's an NSAID. Yeah,
anti-inflammatory.
Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory.
This guy's a druggie, so who knows?
So my understanding is that's what it is.
Okay,
and so
that's a pretty simple thing, though. I mean, something like testosterone.
Enhance your shooting experience with STOCKY'S stocks. Are you tired of struggling with mediocre rifle stocks that hinder your performance? Imagine having a high-quality rifle stock that not only enhances your accuracy, but also provides superior strength and a lightweight build. Stocky Stocks offers a wide range of premium rifle stocks manufactured with hand layup carbon fiber construction, a patented carbon fiber AccuBlock, and multiple finish options. Whether you're a long-range shooter or a hunting enthusiast, our stocks are perfect for you. Experience unmatched precision and durability with Stocky Stocks. We provide stock installation instructions, technical support, and guidance to help you choose the right stock for your rifle. Upgrade your shooting game today with Stocky Stocks.
Or something heavy, like the horse is really fucking
Or
hurt
like
and you
cocaine.
need to get him out.
Cocaine
It's
and
literally like
horses.
steroids, right? Like there's something you shoot them up and they're going home.
Yeah, so you got Butte, you've got Banamine that's typically held, which is like a muscle relaxer or pain reliever that's usually like you're dealing with something acute, like they're colicking or something. And then dexamethasone is commonly used.
I heard that one.
And dexamethasone is a steroid.
There you go.
Yeah. And so if you got mules and stuff that are developing anything, or mules and horses that are developing anything respiratory, because of like they got dirt in the hay, they're just at altitude, they're not,
Provides relief for inflamed areas of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the same stuff they give guys on Everest or whatever.
Yep.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So it's usually, I have a funny story about it. Like my dad's a veterinarian, and I used to have that dexamethasone. I had it in a little, I used to buy it in bulk, because I'd feed it to him, and it was like a powder, and I had a little feed room. So we had these two rails where we'd have like 50 horses and mules tied up. And then as we were saddling them, anything that I felt needed to be medicated, we would give them a little grain, and I'd mix that stuff in there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny. One day, my dad was visiting again. I was in there mixing that up with this guy, Jimmy, who works for me. He still runs part of one of those businesses. But we were in there, and we had that dexamethasone. We were pouring it all over the place. My dad opened the door, and he's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" Because that stuff you inhale,
You're breathing it in.
Yeah. So every morning we were feeling great. Getting out past He's like, you guys can't.
Y'all are in there getting high every morning, mixing
We'll just make you feel good because they clean, all your sign, and the same deal. Like every hunting guide in October or November's freaking, noses drizzling. We didn't have any of that
Sinus
shit.
problems.
Yeah, we didn't have any of that because we went in and had aerated the whole tack room with dexamethasone.
It's like cocaine bear. It's like cocaine horse.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of like anything anything beyond that, not really. Those are kind of, mostly you're dealing with like things that you're trying to solve.
How, did you ever have problems with like a lame horse that you had to? Like, what do you do if they can't get out? Like, what have you ever had that happen? We had a bad leg, bad wheel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I mean, basically, you try to butte them as hard as you can to try to get them home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the vet gave me some of that for an abscessed hoof.
Yeah. But it'll work in an acute sense too.
Really?
You know what I mean? And the thing about it is you can't. I think you can OD them on it, but it's pretty. You'd have to be like really.
You'd have to fucking be pouring it down their throat as a powder.
Yeah. Well, and dude, if they're hurt,
yeah,
and you got to get them home.
Yeah.
Because people might listen to this and be like, "Oh, well, that's horrible for the horse." Well, what's horrible for the horse is staying in there.
Yeah, they either don't make it out, or you continue to up the butte
Yeah.
until they fucking make it.
Yeah.
Or they don't make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what you do. You keep doing it, and then you can use Banamine too. But Banamine, my understanding, is more for like soft tissue stuff, like they're colicking, so their stomach's screwed up. But I've had that for sure, man. It was always like the same deal on the OD on it.
No.
So you
Really?
you basically got 2 doses, and you hit them with it once. So when they start to get where, have you ever had one colic in the backcountry yet?
No.
So. Yeah, I mean, this. You got some sign, the signs of it or whatever.
Yeah, they like their lay down roll.
Yeah, you'll know because they're
hunchy.
sweating like crazy, kicking their belly, wanting to roll. Like a good horse is just wanting to get, like they won't listen to you because they're just hurting bad. And you can prevent it if you just make sure and take care of them. It's like the same deal. If some guy tells me, so some individual horses or mules they'll develop a tendency to colic. And that can be a real problem for a backcountry guy because if a horse...
The definition of colic is they get bound up and they can't throw up. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're like having a horse having a stomach ache, or what we would call like an upset stomach is like serious.
Yeah.
That's what a giant chunk of horses die from.
Colic.
Yeah, colic. Yep.
They can definitely fart, but they can't throw up.
Right. Yep.
Colic.
And so with the outside of having like individual horses or mules that are just, they tend to have it. Outside of that, if a guy tells you like he's like, I always have horses colicking, don't ever let him borrow your horse because he ain't taking care of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is it bad food, moldy food? Is it just...
A lot of times it's not enough water.
Oh.
So a lot of times it's if you get into the seasons where you can't graze them,
Mhm.
and you're feeding like a lot of pellets or cubes or that sort of stuff, and then you're not watering them, you'll get it bad. The other thing is just they'll get it if you exhaust them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like
basically dehydration.
Yeah. They're just like you got to take care of them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So they can be a signal of all that stuff. But usually, man, if they get it, I would give them 1 dose of Banamine and like not screw around. Like if we're 15 miles from a trailhead, whatever, like you got to start going there now.
Yeah. Does the physical, act help it out? Like fucking push it along?
Yeah. So if you give it to them, a lot of times like it'll hit them pretty quick. Like I want to say it would start working like 30, 45 minutes. Sometimes they'll go back to normal. Like, you know what I mean? They'll be down on the ground, kicking their belly, like doing shit. I mean, they'll become dangerous. Yeah, because they don't care about you. They're just like trying to deal with this like gremlin in their stomach tearing them up. And so you'll give them it, and then 30, 40 minutes later, they'll be up and they'll be like good to go.
And them shitting's a good thing.
Oh yeah, if they shit, then you're pretty good.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Anyways, but the problem is, guys get them. They're like, oh, they're good to go, right? And then they go back to camp. That horse is dead because when they are good to go, you only got like an hour, and they're gonna go. That most likely they'll either shit and then you got the problem probably solved, or they're gonna get back down. And then if you give them another dose of it, that's it. Because if you give them one more, they're dead.
They're dead.
Yeah.
That leads me another question. 25 after I said I was done.
Dude, we're going to talk about suppressors and all sorts of cool shit.
I have all the good questions. Ryan tends to be selfish, so we'll just let him finish.
He's got a lot.
You guys are playing good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
These are ones I can answer, and the next is going to be like...
Jake's dropping the fucking hammers. They, if they're hot, like those fucking mules really piss you off, and I know you've seen this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go in. We went in 10 miles.
Yeah.
Came up to a stream, first stream, and we're camping right there. They won't fucking drink.
Yeah.
They're like hot or something.
Yeah.
And then you put them up, put them on a high line. I took them back 2 hours later. The fuckers wouldn't. They didn't drink that whole day.
Yeah.
And then the next morning you take them over there and they fucking guzzle.
Guzzle it, yeah.
That's irritating.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's how it goes.
Dude, that's just the whole deal, right? You can walk a mule to water or a horse to water. You can't make them drink, But yeah, that's an issue because it's not like they don't have I guess they don't have the foresight to think like, well, I better drink it now, because we may not see it. But yeah, it's just what it is, man.
Well, shifting gears, I know you got some questions
over there, Jakey. Are you fucking done now?
No, I'm not done. I think we need to have
I bet you could go all day.
Me and Cliff are going to have a straight mule horse podcast.
I don't even know.
I love it.
I don't know how many of our listeners actually give a shit about hearing about mule talk.
I don't give a fuck about them.
That's what I'm saying. You're selfish.
Dude, I think there's more than you think.
There probably is.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, I enjoy hearing it too. Like I'm thinking to myself, well, if I had mules, I'm thinking for Ryan technically because he doesn't think from this side. That's why I asked you about the drugs. I was like, if I had mules, I got 2 or 3 mules of me, I would want like an emergency kit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think to myself, if my mule got a good gash on him just walking by a fucking tree or something, right? Am I going to sew that motherfucker up? Well, I probably would have a suture kit with me. I don't know if you can suture a mule up or not.
Yeah, I mean,
you can knock them out with something in the field and sew them up, and then they're fucking back at it. I mean,
it's all about getting them home.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. You know what I mean?
And we do have. I do take 2 of the things that he's talking about.
You could have those sticky ones, right? Like they have these new suture deals where it's a sticky suture, and you put it on there, and then you pull the things, and it sucks a fucking cut closed.
Sure. Well, you could totally do that, but the thing is, man, it's like, unless it's like a giant cut. I mean, dude, I've been like way in the backcountry and had a mule like bite like a chunk of meat out of a horse's ass, and the horse is okay.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna die from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I guess as long as it's not bleeding, so you gotta have bleed. You gotta have bleed control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you gotta have like a hemostatic powder with you, that kind of shit.
I had one that like got pissed off at me and it whipped around and it hit a stob. It went stobbing that far into her butt. And it was like that big of a hole.
Yeah.
I fucking called Tim. He's like, let her rip, get back and put some of the fucking iodine shit on there when you get to the truck. That's what I did. So
Yeah.
So they can handle a lot of trauma.
Yeah. That
as long as there's not a lot of blood loss.
Yeah. That kind of stuff is pretty. You can't do it a whole lot if it was that bad, anyways. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's more for them, dude. It's all about if they're lame, that sort of things, having the things that can get them through that.
Mm-hmm.
And also just knowing how to like take a shoe off. Like there's stuff that there's like instead of having hemostatic gauze or something, that is a lot less useful than just having
general knowledge.
Some way to pull the shoe off.
Yeah.
Which could be like just having a little shoe in hand, something to get the nails knocked back on it or something like that.
I don't know what it is about shoeing a horse, but that shit comes up on my Instagram all the time. I love watching
really?
it. When they pull the shoe off and they fucking use that scraper.
Oh, yeah.
I think to myself, that's got to be a sharp motherfucker to do what it's doing.
Dude,
that shit comes up on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I love it.
What the fuck are you looking at on
Well, it's
Instagram?
like it's the idea of taking something that's dirty and nasty and worn out, right? And they make
Clean
it new.
it up.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, shoeing's like an art form, man.
It is. Very much.
And the thing this is going to sound disgusting, but you mentioned the abscess thing.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is the way a horse or mule's foot is, they can get like a little wound, they can get a puncture, a nail could be placed wrong, whatever, and they'll get an infection in it. And then that's an abscess, right? That's in there, and it's very apparent when they have it because they don't want to put their foot down. Now, usually it's not something you run into in the backcountry unless you just get unlucky and it happens to show itself during that period of time. But I had so many horses and mules, there's always one with an abscess.
Yeah.
Dude, and when I knew one had it, and I could tell because they kind of put their toe down, it would damn near make my mouth water because it's so much. You want to get like, dude, hitting that abscess is like immediate relief for them.
Yeah.
And you know that they're out there, dude, and that thing is like
it's like a blood blister under your nail.
Yeah, dude.
That pressure's there, and the moment you just let it go.
Yeah, and they're stepping on it and stuff, man, and just digging in. Luckily, my dad taught me how to find one, but you clean up that foot, you take the shoe off, and then you've seen her they clean up, you got that white clean,
Yep.
And you can look at that, and you can just see like
a dark spot.
Yeah, you see like a little fleck of dark.
Yeah.
And you just start digging into that thing.
Yeah.
And as you get close, you can smell it.
Yeah.
And then when you hit that fucker, dude.
You watch the Dr. Pimple Popper fucker guy too, though?
No,
this is good shit.
No.
Did I ever tell you about how my farrier got kicked in the head by my mule?
Oh, yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, because it wasn't an abscess. It was a rock stuck between the wall and the hoof.
Yeah.
And he's digging it out, I told you. And he's like, I should really Scotch hobble her because this is like pulling your fingernail off.
Yeah, it's going
to hurt. And he says that again. He's down there. I should really Scotch hobble her or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And the third time she goes, wham!
Ooh.
And he just goes,
knocked him out.
Boom.
Lucky you didn't kill him, man.
Oh, yeah, that's what he said. He goes, she just love tapped me. So she's not a kicker, but fuck, if you're literally getting your fingernail pulled off. Have you had that happen before?
I've never been kicked in the head by one.
Just kicked in general, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, I've been kicked. Yeah, I've been kicked for sure. But, you know what a Scotch hobble is?
I do now. I didn't then.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it because you tie up one foot and then they can't kick you because if they did, they'd fall over.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's that whole working on feet's kind of fun, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And dude, when you hit it, they'll put it right down.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
As soon as the pressure's gone.
Yeah. I mean, you got to treat it. You got to clean it for, you probably went through the process, soak it or whatever.
Yeah, soak it, put that pad, gauze, and we were putting Epsom salt.
But you're trying to draw one out.
We didn't know where it was at.
They couldn't find it,
And they finally fucking x-rayed it, and there's a rock stuck in the sidewall.
Okay. Yeah.
Because she wasn't getting better after a month.
Yeah.
So you had to be a quasi-farrier, too, back there.
Yeah, you have to be quasi.
Cameron.
Yeah.
I imagine you had to be a fucking everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, dude, it's funny because I don't think people realize this, but the amount of this is not just because my father was a veterinarian. Most outfitters do 90% of their own vet work
Oh, I bet.
because they can't just the
Expensive.
logistics of having somebody come out. I mean, it's a shitty business that way because you also do 90% of your own mechanicking, all that. You got to just take care. You just like, you know.
That's just the general type of guy that you are. You're a do-it-all.
Yeah, that's what you got. Yeah,
fix problem type of guy. Once you
Yeah.
get that right type of guy, they see a problem, you want to fix it.
Yeah, and you kind of have to because you don't have time to, you can't get somebody out in these remote spots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're 15 miles in the backcountry.
It's like the
Yeah.
people when they buy a puppy, they got to do puppy, right? And they go to the vet, they pay $1,500 for a puppy package.
Yeah.
Or they go in there for 2 shots, basically.
Sure.
Or you could go to fucking Tractor Supply and buy the 2
Get the
shots
shots,
for $20 total
Yeah.
and be done.
Yeah.
Fucking veterinarians.
Yeah.
Am I right?
It'd be a cool job.
Oh yeah.
Maddie wants
For
to be a vet.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's hard work, man.
Oh,
I think.
High suicide rate.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Vets have
seen,
high suicide rate.
I can't remember if it's a TV show or what, but there was a vet that they kind of showcased her. I think it was in Alaska. And she would go out there and she had like a dart gun.
Yeah.
She could put animals down, go over there, fix them up a little bit, wait for them to wake back up, that kind of shit. That's pretty cool.
Sure.
It is. The vet to me is like, God dang, just the anatomy and you have to know.
Oh
Over
yeah.
just being a medical doctor on a human. I mean, obviously humans have a higher value of life, but fuck, a vet has to know a pig, a goat, a horse,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. They got to be they got to be a generalist. And then if they're a large animal vet, they never know what they're going to get.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You show up like, is the horse crazy?
It's like you got to pull your book out and be like, which animal am I looking at? Where's the heart? Where's the lung? It's all the
I
same
have
shit.
this-
They're just
I
in
have
different
this-
spots.
Emu with a bad foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking emu.
Yeah, my dad's response to that would be like, well, you better eat it.
Put it down and eat it. That's funny shit.
Hey, we're only 50 minutes in. We'll get to your questions now, Jake.
Well, I'd imagine, this is called Shoot to Hunt. I don't think we've talked about shooting or hunting
Well,
at this
hey,
point.
we're talking about tools to get in to shoot and hunt.
Okay, I see. So there's one thing I've been wanting. Probably the most important question of the podcast, I think, so far is I've been. I don't consider myself a hat expert, but I really been wanting to ask you about your hat because I'm looking at these little doohickey, that come up to the front, and I'm trying.
Oh,
to
this
figure out,
hat.
Yeah, your hat.
Oh, okay.
It's got to have a story or something. I mean, what do those things do?
No, this is a. So they don't do anything.
Okay,
This is a Stormy Cromer. I might be mispronouncing.
Stormy Cromer.
Yeah.
It's wool.
It's a wool hat.
And it
this
has
is like
these-
this is like a light one.
For those of you not watching there, it's almost got like a what do you want to call this? It's just a deal that wraps around to the front and then it's tied together.
You've never seen one of these?
No. I imagine there had
We
to be a
need get
function
you up
to
in
it.
the mountains, man.
Well, I imagine there had to be a
Onsite
function.
hunter, late onset hunter.
Dude,
Oh,
I'm a
I love
beginner.
it. I love it. Yeah. So, dude, this is like from a functional standpoint. I mean, it's a warm hat.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean. But this is like an old school kind of like mountain outfitter type of like common hat.
Okay,
you know what I
okay.
mean? But that's just a style thing, dude. The only thing about that's nice here, I'll show you, is you can. So you got like that, man, and then you got a little breeze. You take this right here, pull it down on your
now,
ears.
see, now it has a function.
Yeah.
Now it's making
So you
sense.
pull it down on your ears.
I got you.
And I will say that probably the guys in the Northeast they'll cringe when I said it's like an outfitter thing or whatever because it's actually I think more of like from that part of the world.
Okay.
Like Wisconsin.
Okay, so it's a regional thing.
Yeah, but you'll see it like a lot of the. I mean, when I was a kid, it's pretty common hat.
Yeah.
Packers and stuff.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah,
Stormy Cromer with Kromer. That's cool. Well, I mean, I could tell that it's wool and it was warm. I just thought,
Yeah. No,
I was like, is that like a little thing that come around your neck? I mean,
no, that's just like a little. That's a little.
You know, but Cliff wears it for a tool.
Yeah.
Some people wear it just to think they're fucking cool.
To be a cool guy.
Yeah, they're actually tools.
Yeah.
But
No, I know
Cliff
what you're talking
actually
about.
wears his for a tool.
Well, I've been on plenty of mechanic shops before, and there's always like the best welder in the shop wears the welding hat 24/7.
Oh yeah,
with the little tiny
goofy
brim, right?
That
Guy, just so everybody knows he's the welder.
He's a welder. Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
idea.
No, and they make a big one that I used to wear, but I have a big head, so it just looks freaking ridiculous because they got a big heavy one.
Yeah.
And it looks like I got a basketball for a head.
If they're wearing that
Yeah.
and they say the word wallop, they're a tool.
Okay. Wallop. It started taking me back. So we've met one other outfitter that had a unique hat on, Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron.
Cameron had, it wasn't that hat.
He has a very similar hat. It's actually in that picture.
It had a poof top on it.
It
was
that
high
brand though.
Okay.
Yeah.
But remember what it almost looked like a locomotive.
Like a train conductor
Yeah, it's
hat.
like a train conductor hat. Yeah.
But Cameron has that, but he's the owner of Absorky Beartooth Outfitters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wears.
First time we met him, he's got a hat on, right? So these hats are like a thing of like, well, he's an outfitter too. There's got to be something going on.
Yeah,
here.
I feel like there is like a hat thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like there should be like a barrier to entrance. Like you've been an outfitter, you just came out of the woods.
Sure.
Some people wear them for no fucking apparent reason. I don't know why it bugs me so much, but it does.
Or like you get a guy who just walks through your shop with fucking like Crocs on.
Yeah.
While the other guys are dressed up with, boots and pants and shit. Here comes this weird ass motherfucker walking through.
Hey, listen to my I'll take you through my reasoning. If I wear these Crocs all summer, they rough up my feet and I never get blisters in the fall.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You get all calloused up.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just don't think he walks very much when he hunts, so he just doesn't have the opportunity for blisters.
I use them as like my camp shoes.
Yeah.
Because I sweat like horrible on my feet, you know? So I got to get my boots off and put something on at camp and let everything kind of dry out. And I got a pair of ugly Crocs. And this last couple of weeks when I was guiding, we had a photographer for Kafaru was with us.
Okay.
Camera guy. And I swear, like every picture, you can see my Crocs in the background fucking the picture.
I think it's added value.
They were planted.
Yeah.
He would do that shit for sure. Yeah.
Oh, Crocs are life, man.
Crocs are life.
I have a retarded amount of Crocs.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I wrote a list of questions here. I watched some of your YouTube videos. I looked to your website, whatnot. And I just kind of come up with some shit. I do a little bit of research. I mean, Ryan does his thing, but basically all he wants to talk about is mules.
It's all good.
So we'll try to make this a little bit more interesting. Yeah. In 2020, you did a YouTube video talking about a rifle build for the Western game, You were sitting out on your back porch and you said it was springtime, but there was still fucking snow everywhere. It didn't look very much like springtime to me, but now that's a while ago. We're talking 5 years ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. But what I found interesting was your recommendation of a 270 for everybody to shoot. So I'm just curious, what's the background on the 270 for you, and why would that be something that you would recommend to people for an all Western game cartridge back at that time?
Sure. Dude, and you know, it's funny when you started with that, particularly when you said the date, I got a little nervous because you know what I've realized, man, is like I've learned a lot too.
Oh yeah.
Like
that's what I'm saying at that time when you recommended that.
And I think the core of it, I think I still truly believe in, but I don't know if it would be like that exact cartridge or whatever, right? So I guess my preface is that I'm learning too. But man, I've killed a lot of elk with a 270 myself, and at that time I'd killed most elk I'd killed was probably with the 270.
And did that start somewhere? Was that what was given to you when you were a kid, or what your dad shot?
The thing that I find that's crazy that'll tie this in together, whenever somebody is like an elk guide or they've done a lot of elk hunting and they recommend a big cartridge, I'm almost, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I'm almost like, what world are you living in? Because
I hope it does offend people.
Yeah, okay. Because, dude, it's always been a running joke in camp, like the guy that rolls in with a fucking
338 Lapua.
Yeah. Because I'm not saying that everybody's like this, but as a generalization, it's a problem because they don't shoot it very well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've always been somebody that's probably been recommending like lighter cartridges because I've always had that experience. It was always like a joke. You know what I mean? Like within elk camps. And it's funny because like I'll say things in conversations about like the 300 Win Mag, which is like a notorious elk gun, and a lot of people love it, and maybe you guys would recommend it to elk hunters too. I don't know, but like that's the one that always struck me because I can't shoot one very well at all, and I don't want to shoot one very very much at all. You know what I mean? And most guys, I shouldn't say most guys, but a lot of guys that's their caliber, they're the guys that don't shoot very well.
I think that the percentage of elk hunters versus deer hunters is such a small percentage. So when they focus on just the deer, they come from this 270 world and the deer world, right? And they're thinking, oh, this fucking animal is 4 times as big. I need 4 times the cartridge.
Right.
But it's just really not the case.
Well, and then they're deathly afraid of the rifle.
Yes.
And then they don't admit it. Dude, I did some short not that long ago about the 300 Win Mag. It was totally taken out of context. It's just like a brief thought on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the comments in it are absolutely stunning. Like, it's like, like one of them recently cracked me up. It was like, said just like 150-pound pussy. You know what I mean? That was like what the guy said.
Wow.
That's the thing that bugs the shit out of me is they put their manhood in that bigger caliber.
Sure.
The military has bored this out. There's no human on earth that shoots better with more recoil.
Right. Yeah.
And the people don't believe that. We can prove it out.
But it's like the bigger truck thing too, right?
It is.
Like,
Sure.
I drive a 3500. What do you have?
Exactly. It's like a dick measuring contest. But like the 270 thing, I shot my first 3 elk with a 270.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a key factor why I think it's left out. And you put it in your recent podcast with that Navy SEAL sniper.
Oh, okay.
Which there's some things that I would love that you will play out at the shoot to hunt school that he said that aren't fundamentally true.
Okay.
But it'll be interesting when you go through it. I'm not going to bias you. I'm just going to have you go through it.
Yeah.
And go back and listen to that podcast. And the guy knew a lot more things than I know.
Sure.
But there are some fundamental things that keep coming up that I'm not going to bias you about, but I want to do another podcast when you get down to
for
shooting
sure,
school.
man.
But your 270 and my 270, when I would suggest that, if you had asked me 20-something years ago, what's your average shot distance with that 270?
Oh, it's got to be probably 200 yards.
See, that's the biggest difference between people that suggest that from their shooting distances to we've moved into this long range, I would say precision hunter to where everything matters more. To where a 270 with a scope that didn't track, and a 270's killed tons and tons of animals.
Inside of 200 yards wasn't a big
deadly.
deal.
Yeah, and having a scope that don't track or having a 30-30 at 300 or 200 yards isn't near as big a deal as having a 30-30 at 500 yards or a 270 at 700 yards, ballistically. Yeah. So everything is magnified and matters more the farther we keep pushing the bar of shooting.
Sure.
And back then, 270 was fine for me. 30-06 was fine for me. 270, I mean, and you've also learned a lot, I bet, in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So.
Yeah.
Well, what I caught on to in the video was that you started off saying 7 Rim Mag, 300 Win Mag, but you ended with 270 being the recommendation. So it was out of the 3, you were taking the lesser recoil approach, which it didn't really matter whether it was a 270 or something else. It was the cartridge you could hang on to and practice better with.
Right.
Basically.
And the other, one is fun. This may not matter to you guys, but I think shooting being fun matters a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because if
it's not fun, you're not going to practice.
Right. Yeah.
When I shot big guns, like big 338s, big 300s, I didn't love it as much as the first time I bought a specific training 223.
Yeah.
And that gun's been shot over 20,000 times because it's a pleasure to shoot.
Sure.
So it does matter.
Yeah. No, and I think even like my personal transition from brakes to having most things suppressed is like the same idea.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like brakes are not that much fun to be, to shoot them
Not
on.
consistently.
Yeah, it's almost like a different type of recoil.
Yeah.
It isn't. It goes to the recoil. Nobody likes to get punched in the shoulder, and nobody likes shit exploding in front of their face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it makes sense that less recoil, less sound, you're going to enjoy it and shoot better.
Right.
It's not a hard concept, but people fucking fight me tooth and nail on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a little sensitive today.
No, it's just, I like Cliff. I think you're very analytic. You take information in, you think about it, and then you're not set.
No. Yeah, no, I'm like it's interesting. Like where you mentioned the recent podcast, like I'm like, it'd be fun to kind of figure out what those things are. I'm very much open to it. But I think, like back to the video you're talking about, I also think I can reflect on stuff a little bit and like look at it from my perspective as a guide and out. You know what happens when I was doing like a volume of hunts, and I saw the negative side of a volume of hunts, the wounding loss, and that could be archery, rifle. It's not like it's bad on both, right? Particularly if you're like in the same area over and over and you're doing hundreds of hunts, like you got a good data set. And so you think to yourself, like, how do we fix this? And then you form your opinions on that. And what you do is you tend to really probably simplify it greatly.
Yeah.
In a good guide, even to this day, unless I've hunted with you like 5 times, it doesn't really matter. If it's the first time I've hunted with you, it really doesn't matter what you tell me. I'm going to try to get you under 300 yards from an elk.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're at 500 and you're telling me you can shoot it, I'm going to be like, but it looks like we can pretty easily get to 300.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have like a really baseline concept. And if I can get you to 150, like we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I just like stuff dead.
Honestly, that should be any hunter. If you could get 200 yards closer, whether you're a 1,000-yard shooter or not, if you can get closer, you should get closer.
Yeah.
I mean,
it sounds so obvious, but like functionally, a lot of guys don't do it.
No.
You know?
I like what you said in that podcast is, if a guy comes in and he said he's good to whatever yardage, you like cut it in half. You like,
yeah, you kind of have.
We're probably gonna get you fucking half of that. Buddy.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that like I'm real scientific about it historically. I just know that if I did certain things, that the results were better.
No,
you know what I mean. If that makes sense.
Was there a magic yardage where shit started to really go downhill? Was it 200, 300, 400 yards when they're shooting?
Honestly, it's like 200, 250 yards. That's where things...
Where you can no longer hold dead on.
Yeah.
Anything past holding dead on where you got to dial or you got to hold, it becomes a problem.
Well, and plus, and then, it's a little bit further out, let's say, for most of the stuff I'm familiar with. But, once you start getting where you're shooting across canyons, you have all the mountain wind stuff and all that. So, that's always been my approach.
Yeah. So then I read on your website, you have a preferred gear list, and in there you have a weapon and accessories section. And now you're saying there it says 6.5 millimeter and up, basically.
Yeah.
Is what you're prescribing. So, during that video there, 6.5 PRC actually came out in 2018.
Yeah.
So do you remember if you knew or heard about 6.5 PRC in the 2020?
I had, dude, I'm sure I had heard about it.
Yeah.
But
just wasn't on the scene yet.
My interest level in it was zero at that time.
Like changing a cartridge for any reason wasn't on the top of your priority list because what you had was working.
Yeah. Well, plus that's just what, dude. Like, I don't. It may be surprise to you, but people that are like, I was just changing around cartridges and being infatuated with all the different new things on that front. I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
I was doing, I was just focused on other things. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Building the outfitting business, everything else you were doing. If
so
you
at
have
that time,
don't fix what's not broke.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like at that time, if you would have came and explained to me like why the 6.5 PRC was better than a 270, I probably would have been like, yeah. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you ever have a dude roll in with like a 243 and you're like, what, like any of that kind of shit going on?
And this would probably make me somewhat, maybe a little bit of an anomaly at that time. I personally, particularly if they were somebody small, I personally would be like, yeah, it's all good.
Good.
You just because like it's the same deal. I'd rather have them like be comfortable with the gun than have it,
I think where this gets all sticky and icky is people go and they put these guides and outfitters on pedestals, and and I hear it all the time from guides and outfitters, that isn't their main focus.
Yeah.
They don't really give a shit what you're shooting. As long as you can shoot it somewhat straight.
Right.
We're moving on to the actual business of the fucking, the whole thing.
We're
not worried about that. Me and you talk about cartridges every day. You got a business to run, show up with your rifle, be competent, be proficient with it, and let's go.
Right.
And I think, but they're asking you, well, this guide, recommends this and this, and it's all over the map. And some guys, they don't do autopsies. They fucking grab that animal. They don't quarter it out. Or they definitely don't gut it out. They're just fucking gutless method. Throw it on the horse. They don't look at it again.
Right.
But they're getting all the information. It's kind of like the gun counter fucking guy's the expert. And that dude fucking killed one animal in his life.
Sure.
You guys kill a copious amount of animals, but you're not always paying attention to the end result.
Yeah. I mean, dude, and I'm not saying that it's not that I shouldn't have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, I shouldn't have researched, more or known more in depth, but I just focus on other things. And I think that's the case with most
I
guys.
totally agree.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, at least in my mind, it kind of goes back to my original theory at the time. Like if I can get you to, I guess like my rebuttal at the time, if you're trying to convince me like, hey, instead of recommending the 270, why don't you recommend the 6.5 PRC? I'd say at 250 yards will affect the result.
No.
No.
And I'd have been like, then I'm not going to even log into my website and change it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can fault me for that or not, but
No.
that's just the mindset.
I don't think so. I mean, if that's your goal with the answer from us would be no, it's not going to affect the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will tell you.
It would be more about bullet choice at that point than cartridge choice.
Yeah. And we can get into that too, dude, because I feel like that I've learned a ton about. And dude, I never, in my years of outfitting until maybe, the last couple of years, it became more relevant. That was not, I would never discuss bullet choice with a hunter.
Because very personal choice based on experience.
And plus it wasn't something I focused on. You know what I mean?
So moving into the next question would be, I looked through all the people that you podcasted with. You have 800 and something podcasts just on your own, let alone the other people that you've podcasted with.
It's crazy.
And so with all the experience and I guess maybe interviewing and gaining knowledge from the influencer side of the market, do you see any movement towards smaller cartridges recently?
So it seems like that I see it in the content side of things, but in like my clientele, I haven't seen it trickle in quite yet.
So we're still just bullshitting about it. It hasn't made its way to the shooter yet.
It sure seems like on the bullet side, like the match versus like the traditional hunting bullets, that has become over the last 2 weeks, the discussion came up 10 times probably in camp.
Yeah.
So that one's hitting for sure. The smaller caliber stuff. I see a lot of it seems like there's more and more content coming out on it. I
posted a video up from a customer of mine sent me a video through the Unknown Munitions Instagram DM, and it was his wife shooting a black bear, 805 yards, 22 Creed, 88 ELDM.
Yeah.
And dropped him. And I think it's I almost kind of get nervous about posting shit like that because it pushes people both ways. But
Absolutely.
I think that together we keep trying to, like, the more content, provable content that there is, like a kill shot video with trace and whatnot.
Yeah.
That we can post that shows, big animals going down with small bullets, the closer we can get to.
Yeah. I don't care what you shoot. I want you to be efficient with it. And people are more efficient with smaller cartridges.
And it goes back to your recoil part and what you're comfortable with.
They just shoot it better.
Yeah.
What was the gun of choice over the last 2 weeks with all your clients?
Oh, I did see a lot of 6.5, like 6.5s. I think we had, I want to say 1 300 Win Mag in there, but most of them were like
6.5 PRCs,
6.5 Creedmoors and a couple PRCs.
Okay.
Yeah. But you got to admit, like a lot of also, this kind of goes back to the outfitting part of things. As an outfitter, man, I was always, I wanted people to not feel like obligated to go out and buy new stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So some of that too. Like, it's not on like my gear list, but to this day, dude, I get guys that hit me up and they say, hey, they're stretching it to go on a $7,000 hunt, and they come to me and they say, hey, I want to get a new rifle. And part of that is that guys just like buying guns, but it's also, you can tell there's stress about it. And it's like, what do you got? And like, well, I got my dad's 30-06. Just bring your dad's 30-06.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just my perspective on it.
Yeah. Or at least not point them in the direction of a $10,000 custom, whatever,
sure.
Get a Tika. It can even have a factory barrel on it. Put a reliable scope and
sure.
and go from there.
Absolutely.
Next question. What's your process for getting your rifle ready for hunting season?
So my process, and I do it with I have a bunch of loaner guns.
Okay.
So I have, like, nowadays, most of the people I guide are pretty new hunters.
Yeah.
Like these last 2 weeks of guiding, the average age of guys was probably 50, and probably 70% of them had never been on a hunt before in their life.
Wow.
Which makes it
really,
it makes it way fun, dude.
that is fun.
It makes it really fun. Like, I had a guy, man, that killed a bear. His name's Tim, and he started hunting he started getting to hunting when he was 64, and he's 65 now. And he killed him. The bear was his first one.
Nice.
But anyway, so I have these. So I got my loaner rifles.
Okay.
And what I do, man, is I just get I get what I'm going to shoot in them. And there's basically 2 that I use now. I use a Gunworks, the Magnus, as a loaner gun, and then I use a Sig Cross as a loaner gun. And all I do, man, is I do my ballistics on them based on where we're gonna be, so I know the holds, and then I just zero them. That's the prep. And then when the hunter shows, we go over rests.
So are you asking your hunter to hold in the reticle? Or are you dialing for them?
Yeah, so typically I'll dial for
You're dialing
them.
for them, okay.
Now, and this is going to be, you guys might look at me like, man, this guy's just a total naive idiot. But for me, man, like a lot of the shots we're talking about, like I want to get guys below 300.
Yeah.
So a lot of, I mean, you look at these cartridges ballistically, I'll give guys body holds.
Mm-hmm.
That's common.
Yep.
Yeah. Because man, if I'm not, and dude, I don't want this to sound like it's only specific to these type of hunters, because these guys are all very interested in getting better, probably more so than my historical clientele. But I don't know, like for these like practical shooting distances where I'm, trying to kill these species under 400 yards, in my mind, man, it's a debate whether or not the fact, dude, when I was a kid, nobody had turrets on a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a foreign thing.
No.
That to now, where 99% of guys have turrets on their hunting rifles, I don't know if that saved animals or killed more animals.
Yeah.
I really don't, because it's another thing that guys are fucking with.
Yeah.
And it can get like scabbards that get turned. Like there's all these little things. I know that probably sounds, but at the ranges that I try to get people, it's a debate in my mind. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But to your question, if it's sub,
is it a 200 yard zero?
No, I zero them all at 100.
Okay.
Yep. So there still is like I'll have them hold at 300, a little bit high or whatever, and I'll tell them. So and then if it no wind whatever, and we're gonna take a shot at 420 yards or something like that, then I'll dial for them.
Okay.
Or tell them what to dial it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, yeah. Do you go through and inspect parts, clean the barrel, torque screws?
Yeah. So
Loctite.
Yeah. So I have witness marks on all my optics, the rings and stuff, and then I torque all the actions to spec.
Gotcha.
I do that before every hunt, and then when I zero.
Okay.
So I do that. Dude, I clean my guns once a year. Sometimes. I'll be honest.
I don't clean them all. But, getting on your point about turrets and does it wound, in my opinion, is two things really make me nervous. And it kind of goes with the 1,000 yards out of the box that Gunworks preached for a while. And I'm not knocking on them. It's lots of people now. Laser rangefinders and turrets definitely made a guy that wasn't even sniffing that animal at 600-800 yards to wounding that animal at 600-800 yards. They don't know what they're doing. So I do think there's an issue there. Not sometimes, a lot.
Yeah, like it's a psychological thing. Think that now I got the tools, so I can do it.
Yeah, and they'll take a clean miss at 800 yards because the guy he wasn't even close.
Yeah.
To the guy's really pretty close, but he might hit him in the ass or he might hit him in the gut. So so it is an issue.
And the thing is there's and we probably, and I'm sure a bunch of your audience listen to this is real sophisticated, takes it real serious, but that's not a reflection of the overall hunting market. And I think people don't realize that, and it can be a challenge because of that. You know what I mean? Like, dude, even me, there's a part I don't shoot at animals in at 400. Like I consider 400 yards really far. Like that's a far shot. If it like I got to have pretty ideal conditions personally to shoot at a big game animal 400 to 450 yards. But I routinely have people that I talk to as clients who I bet they've shot less than 100 rounds in their life. You ask them how far they can shoot, and they'll say, I think I'm good to 550, 600 yards. To me, it's like, no way, But I feel the pressure that they feel because I feel it. I feel the same thing when I see an elk. If it's my tag and I see an elk at 600 yards, it's like, well, everybody else is doing it. But then I gotta like click in my mind, like, dude, get closer. You know what I mean? So
they're not doing it. The people, like I say it all the time, and it's kind of a broken record. Men think we're good at driving, shooting, and fucking, and we're good at none of it.
Yeah.
And that guy comes up there and says, you go to the school, there's a pretest, there's this shit that shows you how bad you suck.
Oh, sure.
And you probably shouldn't be doing it. Or go get copious amounts of training, and then you might be able to do it.
Right.
But we don't, males especially, don't think that way.
Right.
It's interesting.
Right. Well, and you can't extrapolate it because, I mean, you guys can tell me if you got a different opinion, but at 200 yards, dude, I can take a guy that has shot 10 rounds out of a rifle, and I can take him and go shoot an elk at 200 yards, 220 yards, and I feel perfectly ethical. I've done it 15 times in the last 18
There's a lot of
months.
room for error there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all those elk were dead and no problem, and and so to me that you can't extrapolate it. Like you take that to 400, like now I'm not going to do it. It's a different deal.
What do you think is driving these new hunters, older new hunters?
Dude, I think there's several things. I think there's, I actually had this discussion with some guys. So one of them is that it's, for some reason, probably a bunch of different variables, it's become all of a sudden socially acceptable, more so. Like within, if I'm an engineer at, Boeing or whatever, and I go into the office and I tell them that, I just went bear hunting, there's less people in there that are shitting on them. I think that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
And I think that's related to, some of the media around the subject. I think guys, like Rogan, other folks that have kind of mainstreamed it a little bit. I think it's helped like guys that maybe wanted to always go hunting, but they just didn't want to deal with the bullshit. They're going hunting now. So I think there's that component of it. I think it follows along some of these trends too, like in the diet world even. You know what I mean? Wanting to eat whole foods, wanting to eat more meat, all that stuff. And the other thing is I think there's a lot of guys that are 50, 60 years old right now that work their ass off their whole life and don't have any hobbies.
They want to do something cool.
Yeah, they want to do something fun.
And golf sucks.
Yeah.
All of that is true. All of that is true. Yeah.
I think COVID kicked a lot of it off.
Oh, yeah,
you saw what's his own Facebook going hunting for the organic meat.
Sure,
Zuckerberg.
Yeah. And love or hate, Cameron Haynes or Steve Ranella, they go on Rogan and they have a really good sales pitch.
Yeah, sure.
For hunting.
Yeah.
Which I think helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Jim Shockey's even in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you always get, there's a cultural clash, right? Because then you have all these new entrants that they entered that way, but then they realize, that there's other components of hunting, right? Like it can't all be about meat when it just costs you $3,000 worth of gear and all of that stuff to get it. You got to have some other reasons you're hunting,
When me and my wife got married, the free meat part went out the window about year 2. She's
no different than
adding this shit up. She's like, there ain't fucking nothing free about this shit.
When I save money on ammo, let me start loading my own.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Well, and guys, is my opinion on it is like it's okay just to want to go spend a week with a bunch of other guys up in the mountains and have fun.
I really think a guided hunt with a rifle that you might have is probably the most affordable way of getting or trying something new that you don't know if you're going to get into permanently. I mean, if they're setting you up in a wall tent, they're kind of taking a lot of the experience onto their shoulders. It is going to cost you more money than you would probably normally spend on a hunt, but not on all the gear and everything else put together, right? So it's a good chance to dip your toe in a little bit, see if it's for you.
Yeah, no, for sure, man.
Yeah, I used to knock guided hunts, but the learning curve, obviously being there with a guide that knows what he's doing and knowing if you like it, $5,000 to $10,000 is rather cheap to know if you really want to get into it.
Yeah, if you want to do it.
If you go see it firsthand from somebody that's experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever seen the commercials with the Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man in the world?
Yeah, sure.
Who is the most interesting person that you've ever interviewed?
Oh man, the most interesting.
You can take
person-
me and Jake out of it. It's
Not
fine.
not the most famous or anything else, but generally the most interesting person.
Man, dude, the most interesting person I've ever like interacted with or whatever or interviewed. Dude, that's a tough one, man. I'm trying to think who that'd be because I have like a lot of facets of things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm really into spearfishing. So there's some guys in that world that are like interesting to me from that perspective. But dude, you know who's an interesting guy is Jordan Jonas. Are you familiar with him?
Well, I just looked him up as he was telling me you're just getting back from hunting with him. So
Yeah,
I don't know much about him at all other than that he just won alone.
Yeah, and what I'll tell you, I'll keep it brief. He's a good friend, but the reason he's interesting, man, is because he's known for alone, winning alone and all of that, but he has. I mean, dude, that guy went to Siberia before. Like, if you hear his real story, like before he was on alone, you're like, no shit, the guy won alone. And not only did he win alone, I don't think he was worried for 1 hour of the entire time he was on.
Like he was having
You know
a
what
blast.
I mean? Yeah. Like there's not.
He was like accelerating.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
are like,
yeah.
I miss this, and he's like, oh, it's just another day at the office.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of stories he could tell along they're his stories to tell, about how it was edited to make it look way more like a struggle. And he could tell you some hilarious stuff that went on there. But just his stories of, I'll keep it brief because it's another one of his stories, but then he could, if you ever met him or whatever, you could hear the story from him. But he told me a story about he meets this trapper when he's in Siberia, and this trapper just got out of prison, and he's like, "Oh yeah, come with me. Come with me for whatever." I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks, and we're talking about in the winter. And he's just like a kid, basically. He's like, "Yeah, come with me. Well, I got all these these different cabins we trap out of, and we'll go do it all. That's the deal." So then he goes to meet the guy on the day they leave. And he's like, oh, we don't do it together. Like we do it, we just go separate ways, and then at the end we'll meet up. So this is in the middle of Siberia, middle of winter.
Holy crap.
And he just, dude, no map, no Onyx, no nothing. He just writes Jordan, like, go to this mountain, take a left, take a like on a napkin, dude.
Oh,
like,
shit.
and then like here's I think my cabin's here, And then he just goes on this thing for like 3 weeks and somehow magically makes. He's got a bunch of stories like that
How
that are
old
just.
was he?
He's like 19, I think.
Oh wow.
And he had trapping experience before that?
No.
No, he just fucking just.
Yeah. No, I think.
Come
I mean, I think
with
like like nothing like that. Yeah.
That's a crazy
You know?
story. Like my going back is how the hell did you say I'm going to go to Siberia?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a
I
whole
think
different-
for he could fill in the details, but I think it was a mission type of thing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, so that to me, he like in terms of interesting folks, he's one because he actually did it.
Yeah.
Like there's no, the
was-
alone thing is like secondary. Like
Yeah.
he's actually done like the
That was
real.
a vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That's
dude, I've
badass.
met a lot of it's such a hard question because I feel like I meet interesting folks all the time.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
you
I
know?
imagine even some of your clients are very, very interesting.
Oh, yeah, of course, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, who starts hunting when they're 64, 65 years old?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think for me, I have to step back and think like, dude, that takes balls.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think about like, your wife's like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all your social
It
group,
reminds me
all-
of the Bucket List movie.
yeah, oh,
Morgan
yeah.
Freeman. So
Yeah.
he's about to die and all of a sudden they're going to go do all these things together before you die.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you leave your wife behind and then your wife's like, what the fuck?
yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? That stuff, I get ton of dude. And I have clients that are, that, particularly before I started kind of focus on the folks that I do now, I had this whole like guided DIY, variations of that and like some weird hierarchy that exists. Dude, I've guided clients that were phenomenal hunters. Some of the best hunters I know were guys that guided because the thing is like, this is a generalization and it's inverse sometimes, but a lot of guys with a lot of money and a lot of time, they become pretty damn good hunters because they can hunt all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's weird. I don't know if you guys have run into this, but you have to like, there's guys that are just hunters and they enjoy hunting and it's a hobby. They go for 10 days a year or whatever and they have fun with it. And then there's guys that might have the same, time span of experience, but they literally like apply themselves to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And the end result is way different.
We know guys like that.
Yeah,
the guys you're talking about too, that in their old age. So you're actually, every time you pay to go on a guided hunt, even though you're a good hunter, you're almost you're paying for knowledge.
Yeah.
Because you're absorbing all the knowledge and experience around you, every different hunt that you go on with different guys.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
learning curve is shortened.
Yeah.
What you said there's interest, and you've hunted a lot. Hunting is not, it is fun to me. I don't want to sound like it's not. But last year I passed up 20-something raghorns. Did not kill an elk. And it's like that drive. Sometimes it's not fun. It's like, it's a necessity. It has to happen.
Sure.
You have to do it. And I have a standard that last year I wanted to shoot a 340 or nothing. And it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I could have shot not a bunch, but a handful of 310, 320 bulls.
Right.
And it's like, to me, that's almost insanity. If you look at it from like from my wife's perspective or his, like
I call him the elk watcher.
Yeah. Like I don't want, I have shot a lot. Been fortunate. I've shot.
Yeah, but you're hunting. You're hunting the hard stuff.
Yeah, hunting to Selway, hunting North Idaho, hunting Montana, hunting, and it's like you sound like a dick when you say it out loud. But I'm like, I don't know. To me, it's part of the game. Is I want to shoot that level of species in public land on general hunts, generally in hard situations. So it's like I crave remoteness. I crave like accomplishment on my own. I hunt solo a lot because of it. But it's like, when you say it out loud, it almost sounds selfish and dickish. But I've talked to other people like you, like Ryan Lampers for one. He's like, no, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't love hunting. I love the experience of hunting.
Well, dude, and the thing is about it, Ryan, is like, this is one thing that I talk to a lot of people about. And it's like, it always ends up a long conversation. But we're not all doing the same thing. Like hunting is like so luckily, man, dude, I've been able to, over all my years of guiding, I've guided in high fences. I've guided on some of the most expensive elk hunting ranches on planet Earth. And then I've guided in wilderness areas that are just hard hunting. So I've seen the spectrum. To argue that we're all doing the same thing is like hilarious. And I don't think any of I'm all for it. I hope people enjoy all of it. But to argue that it's the same is almost comical. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's so much different. It's more different than it is the same, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes when we get like into, when we get into like a dick measuring contest about it, it doesn't really matter. Because you might as well, because you're talking about different sports or whatever. There's so much variation in what it's all about. I mean, think about the hunting that you're doing, man. It's about chasing elk, learning about elk in those environments, learning about elk that get the crap hunted out of them. But it's also like you're a good backpacker. You're working on your horse stuff. You're a good camper, like all that stuff. There's other types of elk hunting that it's not even a thing. Mm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
hunting from a cabin, shooting
totally
out from the back porch.
Yeah, nothing's wrong with any of it.
Absolutely not. But it's what makes you happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like all of it.
We would prefer not to shoot an out from the back porch and put some work in.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what
the level of accomplishment you feel afterwards is not the same.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
dude,
totally
I went down and hunted the Muscalero.
Yeah,
and it was fun. There was nothing like great. Like I'd take a 300-inch bull that I got in public land over the 350-something-inch bull I shot.
Yeah, sure.
We called in 10 6-points before 8 o'clock in the morning, which it's fucking awesome, but it's not the same. I guess it's not as rewarding to me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like dickish, and people give their eye teeth to shoot any elk.
Yeah.
And you say it out loud and you're like, well, damn, but I'm just looking for a different experience.
Also from a skill set perspective, it's completely different.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, like,
Hi, I'm Brent Jarbo, CEO of ADG. For the past decade, we've been dedicated to crafting the highest quality, 100% American-made rifle brass to meet all your hunting and long-range shooting needs. This year, we're excited to introduce our new 6.8 Western and 270 WSM cases. With over 250 years of combined industry experience, we're committed to excellence. Look for our distinct orange boxes wherever you buy your reloading supplies. Whenever you need quality rifle cartridge cases, choose ADG Premium Rifle Brass, where precision meets performance.
An archery elk hunt in the flat tops or the Selway or any of that stuff where you're grinding out for 7 days and you call in 2 bulls, you get into vocalizing elk like, a couple of those days. That's a totally different skill set than same deal. I've guided on ranches where I call in 8 bulls a day, 10 bulls a day. That ain't the same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not even close. And it's different. In some ways, it's different. Like most of my years of guiding archery elk hunts in the flat tops, I'm all about like, if we don't got a call and we can just kill it, let's do that. Because I don't want to fuck up the one opportunity that took me 3.5 days to get. If I'm guiding on a ranch where we're going to call in bulls all day, it's all about calling in one like they do in the TV shows.
Yeah.
That I grew up
5 yards
watching.
away.
Yeah. But those two things are completely different, to me.
Yeah, the Primos sold us a bill of goods.
I know.
But I will at least say they said exactly where they were, what they were doing.
They're transparent about it.
There are some out there, they're very not transparent. They make it sound like they're in the middle of nowhere, public land.
Yeah, sure.
But they're 10 feet from their truck. Yeah, so
sure.
It's an interesting dynamic. Well, you're going to test a suppressor for us.
Yeah, I look forward to it, man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your feedback.
I'm looking forward to it.
Do you have a few suppressors right now?
Yeah. I've got that Thunder Beast with the brake on it. And then I've got a couple from Gunworks.
Nice. Well, it'll be interesting to hear your feedback.
Well, I'm looking forward to the design stuff is all public?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
We're opening up for sales on June 2nd.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm just looking forward to the, just using something that's completely different with the over the barrel. What is that the term you guys use? Over the barrel?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. People say reflex over the barrel, but over the barrel is technically the correct term.
So I had this question because we were talking a little bit about this in camp. So in terms of the physics of the noise reduction, the over the barrel length on the suppressor, does it give you any noise reduction? Is it somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between.
Okay, gotcha.
Similar to a brake versus a suppressor. So it's not full suppression with baffles.
Yeah.
But it is a large expansion chamber. It is being used. There's a brake. There's actually a type of muzzle brake right in front of where that screws onto the muzzle that redirects that pressure and air rearward into the expansion chamber before it comes forward. You can see a little bit of just kind of showing you that there is a compartment there. Of course, there's more going on in front of that. But it is doing something. In fact, this 4-inch one, the one we were talking about, we did this just to compare and answer the question that you've asked.
Yeah.
So we printed the forward 4 inches without the expansion chamber on the back and to measure the...
Oh, so you could get the difference.
Yes.
Okay.
It's about 5 decibels difference.
Oh, okay.
Between this and that.
So significant.
Now, it's not the same. So as we're trying to make this over the barrel can, you're actually battling. So it's not an equivalent to an 8-inch can in front of the muzzle because we're losing that expansion volume where the barrel is. So all that open area where it slides over the barrel, we have lost as a component of suppression.
Right.
So we've lost. So that may be 70 or 75% of what a normal 8-inch can would be because we're trying to.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So we're trying to do what everybody else is doing, but in a shorter distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's driven more for pure hunting. Everybody wants a shorter barrel.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You just said you have an 18-inch barrel on your
Macross.
Yeah. So it'll be 22 inches overall. It'll be hearing safe, but one thing you'll really find out when you slide that over, the balance feels a lot better than having 6-8 inches out in front of the
weight's not hanging out.
Yeah, and if you look at the AB is the most popular reflex out there, but it screws. It's not monolithic. You screw that part on.
Yeah.
And then you slide over your barrel, you screw that on. It changes the tone, and this is a hot topic on Rockslide. People call bullshit on us, but it does. Instead of the crackier sound, this is more of a hollow sound.
I got you.
Because of the reflex. And to me, it's more pleasant to the ear. To you, it's more pleasant to the ear. And I think people start hearing it and listen to it. People shoot cans like twice a year, and they'll call bullshit.
They can't notice it.
Yeah, when you go to the shoot to hunt school, you will notice cracky cans and you'll notice these cans. There's a difference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it jumps out at you when you start shooting a whole bunch of rounds downrange.
Yeah, you're around
Yeah.
a bunch of different.
Yeah, and the other thing we're trying to do is just besides the things that we're talking about is doing everything in-house, controlling quality, all that good stuff. Doing different design iterations to try and improve it to the best point that we can, and keeping the retail price point low. So really no middleman. We're not trying to, it's like the difference between a Maven scope price and a Leupold scope price. Leupold's built in to have 2 or 3 middlemen. That's how their pricing point works. And then Maven's direct to consumer, so we're giving you the best price possible. So similarly, $9.99 retail will be the price point on June 2nd when we open up sales, and that's a very good price point. Yeah.
Dude, I really appreciate you showing me the manufacturing process.
Yeah.
Because it's literally like magic.
It is.
It's crazy.
That corner back there with where the printer is it's amazing to watch it. Explaining it how it works is different than seeing it doing what it's doing, but it's you're basically, so when we removed the last print of suppressors, the machine is kind of raising them, and I'm like, it's like suppressors are raising out of the earth, right? It's like you created them like a caveman would. I don't know. It's just
you gotta have that music. Oh,
yeah, you gotta see it fucking rising up.
But it's
right
literally
now.
like, because dude, when I think of like 3D printing, I'm like I'm back in the beginning of it in my mind. I'm thinking like somebody printing out like a Gumby figure.
Yeah, and there's like the plastic fucking thread that's coming out with a little needle thing.
But when I grab a hold of this, I'm like, dude, this thing is like gonna get shot through. It's gonna get hot as hell. Like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
that you can do it on a machine like that.
Yeah,
and we just put 100 rounds through a 20-inch 300 drum, and it did not blow apart in destructive testing, which is absurd to me.
Which for those of you that are watching there, that's that guy.
Oh, that's the one there.
That's
They got a little abuse, huh?
So 100 rounds of 300 rum with about 5 seconds in between each shot. I mean, we're not going to say that it didn't have some deformation, but it continued to shoot, and it did not, I don't want to say explode, but it did not lose its integrity in any way.
Wouldn't have hurt anybody.
No.
Yeah, that was the point of the test.
And that was the most brutal, over-the-top test that we could come up with. That's not a normal type of test. There's no, a really hard part about starting this business is that there are no guidelines, limitations, rules, or otherwise, other than specific ATF rules stating how you have to mark things.
Sure.
There are no guidelines to you. Your suppressor needs to pass this test, and this test. Otherwise, you're not allowed to sell it. Like, it's kind of mind-boggling. Anybody could just grab a CNC or whatever and throw some shit together and sell it to you as a suppressor.
There's no destructive standard.
There's nothing. Other than looking at what other suppressor manufacturers are doing, there's no legal guidelines to do it. For something that's so regulated, from the NFA Act and everything else, something so regulated, and even weapons are more regulated than this is. You can really make whatever you want.
Literally, it could kill you because people are shrapnel-wise. They're standing around all the time when you're shooting.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. There's no standard.
I would guess maybe as the market grows, you'll have an internal industry standards.
Yeah, hopefully.
Don't get. I don't want more laws and rules.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of crazy that some rednecks can weld one together in their basement. And fucking start shooting it.
Now, of course, the only response that we have to this as business owners trying to protect ourselves is let's go over the top. Let's do something that would never happen to that suppressor and see what does.
We got to find
what it actually does.
Yeah, find the failure point and then back it off.
And we shot 100 rounds, it couldn't even find the failure point.
Yeah. And because your brand's on the line.
Oh yeah,
I get it.
Oh,
yeah. No, it makes.
There are other manufacturers that have released suppressors that have 7 and 8 recalls and shit like that. Now that's what you really want to avoid.
Yeah.
And not just from an expense perspective, but then we want our first can, the OG, to come out as the flagship can, indestructible.
Sure.
Yeah.
Indestructible, novel. There isn't an over-the-barrel titanium can out there.
Right.
3D printed.
No.
So it's very interesting.
No, I look forward to trying it, man. How about the fact it took so long for hunters to get into the short barrel?
Not only short barrel, but just suppressor in general. So even having started Unknown Munitions up until just a couple years ago, it took him that long just to convert me from a break to a suppressor. I think suppressors in general kind of have this. They have like an illegal signature. They have a not for me signature. They have just because, I guess the government has done what it intended to do.
Sure.
They're just looked at as like, oh, I'm going to put a suppressor on my pistol so I can kill people and nobody can hear me.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that 90% of the people think about it. So as Smaller cartridges become more knowledgeable, bullet expansion, things like that, match bullets versus hunting bullets, and I think suppressors are included.
Yeah.
I think suppressors overall now make you a better hunter.
Sure.
So your communication with your spotter, or even if you're alone, your ability to spot impacts.
Sure.
Any of those things, the fact that a fucking herd of elk will run towards you after the shot rather than away from you gives you opportunity for a follow-up shot.
Right.
There's a lot of things going on here that people don't know about.
I think it goes back to a bigger thing to where the gun rags and the hunting shows own the market. The internet's kind of made everybody has their own voice.
Sure.
And they're starting to figure out you don't need a 26, 28, 30-inch barrel to kill an elk at 300 or 400 yards. Short barreled, little calibers, good match heavy for caliber bullets, and suppressors are fantastic killing devices, weapon systems. And I think it's like the information flow is easier to obtain. There's still a lot of bullshit out there that you got to read through, but there's no doubt you take a 6 Creedmoor, and my wife's out there. She shot an elk at 650 yards. She shoots a lot. She went to the class twice. She's a fucking killer. 6 Creedmoor, 108 grain ELDM, no issues.
Yeah,
18-inch barrel.
Yeah.
Elk took 3 steps, fell over dead.
Yeah.
It's like you can't, YouTube. You can go to YouTube and see, probably like 2,000 elk killed with a 6 Creed, 20,000 with a 6.5 PRC with match bullets. At what point do you say, well, fuck, I can't say that doesn't work because I'm watching it happen.
Yeah.
I think that the gatekeepers aren't there anymore. So that's what led to smaller calibers, heavy for caliber match bullets, and suppressors becoming more popular. And $200, that used to be a huge, hurdle for lots of folks.
Sure. And the time to wait
when
for
it started, and the time,
the
signatures.
I think the introduction of the E-form and all that, and all that's done. In the beginning, it was still slow as fuck.
Sure.
And then what happened recently? Somebody threatened to take the system down or something, and all of a sudden it went super fast. It wasn't COVID. It was between here and COVID. I don't remember what happened, but
they straightened it out.
Basically, like overnight. Overnight, it went from being 9 months to 9 weeks, kind of thing.
It's short deal.
Dude, and once, I fought with him. How long did we fight about that? I would never use a suppressor.
I can still sit here and argue reasons not to use a suppressor, but now I have both sides.
Once you go to the woods and you actually use it, you're like, holy shit, that's pretty awesome.
Ask yourself, why make my rifle 8 inches longer? Why make my rifle a pound heavier? And you can go on and on about,
It keeps you from getting a divorce with your wife because she doesn't have to put her ear pro in every time you argue back and forth when to shoot and when not to shoot.
It would be like using laser range finding binoculars with ballistics built in now, as opposed to having 3 different tools to find your dial.
Right.
All these things you learn through experience, and just like using match bullets versus regular bullets, sometimes you have so much faith in a Barnes LRX because of its performance for you over your life.
Yeah.
You won't even listen to a guy that wants to preach a 147 ELDM because that Barnes is still working for you.
Man, before we end, I got to ask you guys, I'm going to ask you guys one question if you're all right about match bullets and it happened during the hunt. But on this discussion, to me, what continues to pop in my mind around hunting is it's amazing how powerful the culture is and the history of guns. I'll even admit to this. These hunting rifles that, are kind of black rifle-y looking, you know what I mean? Kind of drifting the AR look in there.
Like the chassis look?
Dude, they're to me personally, I've been around hunting my whole life. Even though I feel like I have an open mind, I always viewed them as kind of distasteful.
Yeah.
But then once I started using one, I'm like, man, some of these convenience, folding that stock, man, this is nice.
Yeah.
For years I hadn't used them just because of that. It's just a cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's like the Stormy Cromer hat that you don't recognize, man.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how powerful that stupid, something that's not rational.
Yeah.
But we
I picture that hat and wool flannels, with a standard out of the box Tika in 270 with maybe open sights on it, and you walk out back and the elk herd's in your backyard and you're there with your kid and you shoot an elk, That's what it's supposed to be.
No, for sure, man.
But it's like the gatekeepers though. We've talked about this before. It's no different to me. I have a lot of friends that write in magazines. That's like fake news to me.
Yeah.
Because it's a big cabal. And if you don't like such a brand X and you don't play with them or you say something bad, you're kicked out of the club. So the actual real information doesn't get to the end user because those magazines and those people that are writing or have blogs, they're pay to play, man.
Over the next decade or two, as the olds fall off and the news come in, I think a lot of that will have exponential change over the next couple decades.
I think so too, because like, dude, man, in this whole whatever you want to call it, influencer content thing or whatever, like I'm fairly new to it, but what I've realized just from my observations is it's like, I mean, I'm exposed to I am given the opportunity on a weekly basis to completely sell out.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, the issue is...
Thank you for not.
I appreciate it. But the thing that's crazy about it is it's not... For sure, there's a moral component of it or whatever, ethical component of it. But part of it, man, in my mind, I'll be totally transparent, is an economic one. I think everybody who's selling out right now is going to be short-lived because we're in a pivoting deal where it's just the information flow is getting too good, and you can start to call bullshit.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yep,
dude. It's like prove it. Like I'll believe you, Cliff. Let's go prove it.
Yeah.
We'll go see if your side or my side pans out. We've done that several times on Rock Slide. We've done that several times on Shoot to Hunt, and it's like you can. The reason Rock Slide is what it is. Yep, we take advertiser money, but you have this big, huge red paragraph that says you ain't buying reviews.
Yeah.
You're buying advertising space. We can totally still shit on your product.
Right.
That has no bearing on it. And I think people are catching on. You're catching on, like Jay, Mindful 100 guy.
Yeah.
Dude, he's a great guy. That is the future, in my opinion. It's not the pay to play. Rock Slide could have had 3 advertisers and made as much as we do with like 40 or 50 advertisers. They wanted exclusivity, and it ruins the whole basis of what Rock Slide was.
Yeah, caves in.
Yeah, and then what if those guys one day don't like you anymore?
Yeah.
Then you're out in the wind.
Sure. Or you love their product and their product changes.
Changes, or they or it turns shitty, or they sell the company.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen tons of times.
Yeah.
Great company gets sold to another company. That company doesn't give a shit about it. It kind of turns into a turd.
Right.
Yeah.
The
information flow, I think, is what's changed all of this.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody has a voice, good or bad.
Yeah. No, for sure. Can I ask my match?
Oh, yeah.
So I was skinning this bear, right? And he shot the...
On your recent hunt right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I was skinning this bear like 4 days ago.
Oh.
And it was, I think it was in that 150 ELDM bullet, right? The guy was shooting.
So was it an X or an M?
It was an M.
Okay.
7 mil?
It was, no, I think it was 6.5. Do they have one?
147 is the biggest one.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's what
bitch.
I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
Now, I was skinning this bear, and on the one side, I said, oh, that's the exit wound. And then I skinned the other side, and I was like, no, that's the exit wound because the bullet's against the hide, or the jacket was. So literally, I find this quite often. It doesn't matter what species. Like the jacket will be right against the hide. It just caught it. And then there's the jacket there, and then there's a little bit of the lead, like just a smidge, like a little, just like a smidge of lead there, right there. Now, what was weird about it is I swear to you, because then I realized, oh, this is the exit, and that other side was the entry. Dude, that entry was at least that big. And so this was at like 200 yards.
Yeah.
Why? How could it have had an entry that big?
I think you had some more shrapnel, maybe out of the same area.
Like it came back?
Possibly.
So ELDM has a 1-inch neck length. You know what neck length is?
Like when it starts to
first starts to shatter.
Yeah.
So within 1 inch, but if it hits a bone or it hits anything solid, even it could be heavy cartilage.
Yeah.
It's instantaneous.
Okay.
Detonation, like a bomb.
Yeah.
To where some of that could have been redirected.
Yeah, where you see another match bullet or burger is 4 to 6 inches of neck length before it's,
And quickly though, before we keep talking about how did the bear behave once it got shot?
Yeah.
Oh, it was toast.
Yeah. It was done.
Rolled
dead right
down
there.
The mountain.
Yes.
Yeah.
ELDMs are very explosive. And I've seen, and you never can trust one bullet, one animal, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. It was just, I was startled by the entry.
I'm imagining it's that neck length. It instantaneously started opening.
Just immediately.
Hit something.
But you said something funny that I always wanted the other side. Animal went right down. You obviously found the animal. Had plenty enough penetration.
Yeah,
all the way through.
Yes. Against the hide.
Because that's the thing that always argues. Oh, I shoot a match bullet and I don't get penetration. I'm like, no.
More than likely, if that hadn't that hadn't have come back the entrance way, you would have had a bigger exit wound.
Yeah,
that would have traveled more
Yeah.
together, but you just had the reason why you shoot match bullets is for the performance you're talking about, that no matter if it hit a bone or hit cartilage, you get that detonation and just that massive wound channel.
Yeah.
How did it look inside?
Oh, it's just like liquefied.
Liquefied is always the word.
But I noticed, man, any of those, like, and again, it's all anecdotal based on me, but guys, I've guided lots of mountain goat hunts, and I've lost mountain goats that I couldn't recover. And I've always told guys shoot match bullets because they just die.
Yep.
You know, or they stick.
Yeah.
You know where they're
it goes
at.
Like guys always argue with, I want 2 exit holes for blood. Well, okay, but all that bullet did was go in and kill dirt on the other side.
Yeah.
I want a football size wound channel.
Yeah.
As much chaos inside as possible. I don't give a shit if it is.
How about the want for not having a blood trailing animal?
Yeah, I want it 5 steps or less.
Well, dude, a lot of that comes from, because I have this discussion with guys all the time. A lot of guys think they're a lot better at blood trailing than they are.
Yes.
Like, dude, bears.
Yeah.
If you don't find a fucking bear in 100 yards, you've got a major problem.
Yes. And you've got a lot of bears.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What is it? I've seen a lot of bears got shot. I've shot a lot of bears. It is the most wounded or missed animal I've ever hunted.
It's horrible.
Yeah. So on the wounding part of it, I think a lot of it has to do with the terrain they're in, the vegetation they get into.
Yeah. And I think
the anatomy,
them too far forward.
Yeah, the anatomy, so the heart's in the middle.
Yeah.
The hair catches a lot of that blood if it's just a kind of a dripping wound.
So you don't get a good blood trail on them. But for sure, they're like, I got some pictures, man, of elk skinned and then bears skinned, and there's a shift back for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are you shooting match bullets?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
That 147 ELDM that you're talking about, that's what we shoot too. And it went through Africa and killed everything. It's that is one of the killingest. Well, ELDMs in general, right? But the 147 kind of stands out because of the 6.5 PRC.
Yeah, there it is.
And that is a machine of a bullet.
And I will say that in the Gunworks rifle that I use, the loaner, I use their 180. Their 180 hybrids.
ELDMs?
Yeah.
Hybrid targets are good too.
Yeah.
Hybrid targets are good too. 215 is a very famous.
A burger bullet. People laugh at me that I've shot through steel with bonded bullets or copper bullets. So it's not bonded. Copper bullets wouldn't go through. Burger bullets are very tough bullets.
Yeah.
And they do have a little longer, 4 to 6 inches before they start to open up outside of bone or CNS shots. So they're not, to me, I like ELDMs because it's damn near instantaneous, but a burger is a hard bullet to beat.
Yeah.
I like to hear it too, because almost all the bears have a fucking death run. I've seen enough bears, I think, die at this point to understand the death run part.
Yeah.
And we see bears get hit really, really well, maybe die 30 yards away, but they always get the death run.
Yeah, they sprint. Yeah,
to see them die the way you're describing, I think is a rarity. For the bang flop situation.
Yeah, well, and these are, a lot of times, I mean, you've been in the terrain, so you're shooting them on steep stuff.
Yeah.
So it's more like a bang, roll. Yeah. They probably, if it was a little bit less steep, they might get a run.
How about your other 2 bears? What was the bullet and how did they die?
The first one, the other 2, I don't know what the bullet was.
Okay.
I didn't ask them.
Yeah.
Both were complete pass-throughs, probably smaller damage, but close shots.
Yeah.
So dead bears within 50 yards,
See, the Jib always says, man, I've seen a lot of dead bears run a long ways. Because they're rolling down the fucking hill.
For sure. For sure. But man, they like it.
Like you said about the 100-yard thing, though, we've had to look for a few bears, and
you get
it's interesting
you
how
get
you
into
said that.
Vegetation. It's hard, man. Dude. I find them with bears,
and they hit the ground and they like fucking shrink up into a ball,
and they'll crawl under stuff.
Yeah,
and
you know what I mean.
They're not a very big kill box. They're not a tough animal if hit right. If marginally hit, they're a tough animal.
Yeah. And I will say, my opinion on them is if you blood track them for 150 yards, you're more likely to find at that point. You're more likely to find them on sound than you are blood trail.
Okay,
because they're pretty vocal when they die.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So if you got one that's still alive,
yeah.
If he's hurt real bad, and you just shut up and sit down. Even if they're 500 yards away, a lot of times you can hear them.
You can hear them die.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And you can find them.
Yeah.
Because if you keep blood tracking them, you just get so thick. I mean, you have like you can't go straight. You can't,
For us, it's almost like when you're setting up a bait, you're up on top of shit where it drops off into set. So if the bear ain't right there, you're dropping off.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you're
It reminds
just
me of
you're earning it.
of sound. I shot a bull elk, little 5x5 with my stick bow. This is like 20 years ago, and I was shooting uphill.
Yeah.
And I went through the lungs, but the top of the broadhead exited the top, so it was just filling it full of.
Oh, sure.
And I would have never found that elk. I just sat down where I hit him, and he coughed, and he did a big loop. He was like 500 yards below me, but he like, ugh.
You knew where he was.
That's the only reason I would have always been looking up or side. I never would have went back down.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So that's a pretty good idea.
Never think to stop.
It's so hard too, because it's like when you want to have a discussion. You know what I mean? You're
high.
Yeah,
You're high on
you're
adrenaline.
excited,
Yeah.
but then you've tracked them for 100 yards, and then you want to strategize with your buddies, and it's like, quiet for a minute.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
That brings me up. How many times have you been celebrating and the motherfucker runs off?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Matter of fact, one of these hunts was videoed, and I feel kind of bad because when the hunter shot, it was the one that I was just describing. He shot, and the bear, barely moved, and then just started tumbling. And he got off of the rifle without racking another one. And I'm like, reload your gun. Like, it kind of ruined the film because I was like, I get frantic if guys don't chamber another round.
Yeah.
Because I've seen shit get up and
the
never
school
find it.
The school
Yeah,
teaches
you
you.
learn
That's your
the
first
rack.
instinct.
Oh, okay.
Rack.
Yeah, you
it'll
guys
be
do the
beat into
protocol.
you. Was that shot at an angle at all? Or is it pretty much just straight
Pretty
broadside?
straight on, yeah.
Because then sometimes you do get like some tearing and like some, like it looks like a funnel for a second.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Well, because they're
Whips.
thin skin.
Yeah, super
Yeah.
thin skin, but I've seen some weird wounds in bears too. Just
Yeah.
weird.
Kill blocks on bears too. I think that
They're small.
you ought to have the opportunity to see one skinned out to understand the dog shape of the body.
They're tiny.
Yeah.
So that when you are putting your crosshairs on a bear, you have an idea. Like you might have 3-4 inches of hair on the top and
Oh,
the
that's
bottom.
a big one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then that kind of the middle thing is good.
Yeah.
But that hair, like you don't realize how small the body of that bear is, how
yeah.
fucking strong they are, but the body is small.
Yeah. Or if
Yeah.
if guys are bow hunting them and they try to heart shoot them, dude, if you miss by if you don't realize that a spring bear can have hair that long,
Yep.
dude.
Yep.
If you don't realize that's there and you miss by 2 inches, you just put a slice through their
Yep.
brisket.
Yep.
Yeah, shooting them in the shoulder too with a rifle's a bad idea because you're so little forward, you're into nowhere. You're into no man's land.
Your lungs aren't up in there.
No, there's nothing there.
My
The
boy-
shoulder's way forward.
Yeah.
My boy's first bear rides up at Rockside Bear Camp and he calls me and says, "Hey, I got this bear on his bait. Bring Mason up here." Mason's my little boy. He was probably
12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think younger than that.
You hunt when you're 10, so maybe between 10 and 12.
Let's just say it was 10. Yeah. So we get up there and it's it's 575 yards. And it's really hard to judge bear size. And that was like the first bear I had ever seen, right? So I think it's a fucking giant.
Sure.
So we're in there, looking through the spotting scope and all that. He headshot the bear. So it just dumped him. So that was my first experience. So I'm thinking, every bear dies that way.
Yeah.
They never died like that again.
No.
It's a big, Jake's like, it's a big bear. I was like, it's okay, bear.
Yeah. I thought
They're hard.
it looked enormous.
Yeah.
Big puff ball of hair.
Oh yeah. And then we get down there and it had shrunk up into its little ball. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, wait,
where's
is that our bear?
Yeah.
Is that our bear?
Yeah. Well, dude, bears, the thing about bears is even big ones, you got to know how to take pictures.
Absolutely.
Makes a big, huge difference.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
And but no, for me, dude, I'm with you. Hardest thing to judge.
Yes.
And up there in the Selway, those freaking ponderosas are huge.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you see a bear and you're like, that's
making them look small.
Is that a cub?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you start looking at it, like, oh no, it's
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
These are easy bears to judge when you see them.
Oh yeah, big tanks.
Hey, speaking of, where is our bear?
That's it's a booner.
Oh, that's a
Really?
beast of one. Yeah,
What's that?
Where's little format?
I think Form has him.
that's a beast.
I got to ask you, the alone topic. It's
Sure.
What is you just came out of a hunt? What was your top 10 things you had to have in there? We go backpack, clothing, boots.
Oh,
What'd you take?
gear wise. So
That was a question. I had a question here.
Oh, sorry.
What is same thing. What is your favorite piece of gear that goes on every single hunt? So either way.
Okay, so I'll go on that, but I have to make a comment that's related to you guys. Over the last 14 days, I ate the Pinnacle Food biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
Like
That's
8
a
days,
good
dude.
one.
It's good, huh?
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Everybody, we were like trading for those. It was getting for like when people are gonna trade 2 for
Hey,
1 on
there
that.
you go.
We will not steer you wrong on food, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But so that I love that recommendation. But yeah, so let's go through gear. I've been using Brad from Argali's tents.
Mhm.
In this time, this time I used the Rincon, the two person, because we were backpacking, we were moving. Personally, if I can deal with the extra weight and bulk, I still prefer the Abscess, the 4-person one. Even it's just me, that's like living in a Taj Mahal. So I like that. 10 things.
Whatever
I
you
can
want.
go
I'm
through,
on
yeah.
I'm
Whatever-
on one thing.
Whatever you want. But
Yeah,
what is one thing you take every time? And then there's
Well,
obviously.
now it's going to be biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm trying to think of something that like sets, that's something unique. Cause I got my Kafaru pack, I got the tent, I got all of that stuff.
An interesting thing to me is what boots people use. What do you use?
Yeah, dude. So I historically have used Hanwag Alaskans. And then I wouldn't use it on this hunt because of the terrain, but I've moved in terrain that I can tolerate it. And when I say that, really only if I don't have a heavy pack. I've been using barefoot boots. Have you the
Vivo barefoot?
No, I've been I need to try those, but I've been using the Jim Green ones.
Very similar.
Yeah.
See, I use in this hunt. That's all I use.
So even in that rough terrain,
all I use is the Vivo barefoot.
Yeah.
Because takes a while. It'll fuck your feet up. It fucked up Luke's feet pretty good. It fucked up Ken's when he went to him. You gotta be used to that 0 drop.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did it fuck with yours at all?
No, I thought I had a back problem from it, but it wasn't those.
Wasn't that?
No.
Once you going back's not an option now, even in sheep fucking kind of country.
Yeah.
But I have, short, fat Barney Rubble fucking feet and ankles.
I will say you don't want to play pickleball in them.
Yeah. You got to get used to that
Don't
0
play
drop.
pickleball.
Those are 0 drop. Those limbs are.
Yeah, exactly. So I've same deal, man. Like I've been doing it at home and stuff, but I didn't wear them on this hunt because I was packing a lot of weight, particularly when we killed a bear. And I'm still, dude, I can't tell you this for a fact because I haven't tried the barefoot boots with an 80-pound pack. I'm just fearful that I'm not going to like it.
You got it. I have luckily, I don't have any like hip, knee, ankle problems.
Yeah.
And I have really strong feet.
Yeah.
Apparently, because it does not affect me. What does make me hurt is when I have stiff boots. I fucking twist my ankle a ton.
Oh, really?
The bare feet's never. Hardly ever in the last 5 years I've been using them.
Yeah. What's interesting about them, so now I'm talking about something I didn't even take on this hunt, but I hunted a lot in them last year, man. And this sounds goofy, but usually when I go downhill in a really stiff boot, I'll side hill switch back to go down. Barefoot boots, I just go straight duck walk straight down. And I think it's because I can push my toes out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can literally just like, I mean, it probably looks ridiculous, but just go straight down and just flop my feet out, boom, 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 like that,
I don't have like a calf fatigue with them. Because you're using a lot of your calf in those stiff boots and a lot of your quads. To me, it does take a while to figure like sharp rocks, like on the bottom of your feet. If they're not tough, you do notice those.
Of course. Yeah.
But if you wear them all the time, fucking Crocs toughen your shit up to use the Vivo barefoot or 0 drops.
Mason just used those on Canfield yesterday because no other boot that we had would still fit him. So he wore he wore my boots the same as yours, and he loved them.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of side pain because he got fucking fat feet, but see, I'm the opposite. I like a big, giant, hard, supportive boot that goes up around my ankle because I feel like when I'm side hilling, coming down a hill or whatever, that I could just bomb down it and nothing's gonna hurt my foot.
Oh yeah, you're like protected.
Like skiing.
Protected.
Yeah, that does make sense, but to me it's like counterintuitive. It feels like I have more agility, or I feel it more before it happens. When I fucking twist my ankle in those stiff boots, it's like a little bitch scream.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah, because it's almost like it's almost torque.
My wife thought I was getting fucked by Bigfoot because I started screaming. I had on handwags and I tripped, dude, and I was crying like a little girl. She's like, "What is something chasing you?" And I was, "Did you get stung by bees?" I was like, "No, I sprained my ankle." She's like, "Man, it sounds like you're getting raped."
Yeah, but overall, man, I've moved like even like I moved from the Hanwag Alaskans, and now I've been using the crispy
Laponia?
Laponias, yeah.
Yeah.
So like a little bit less stiff
those are very looser ankle wise.
But man, those barefoot boots, the other things that people don't realize is you can be way more quiet. Like substantially more quiet.
Definitely.
Like I just notice with you know how like when you got a stiff boot on, particularly with a heavy pack, you'll hit the top of rocks, shit like that. It's a lot harder to know right where you're putting your feet.
That's what I'm saying, like that. You feel it before it happens.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so what else? Did you have a rifle? Did you have the 308 with you?
I did. So I had guys using the rifles.
Nice.
I didn't bring a gun. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I was guiding. But and I don't carry a pistol. People ask me all the time. I mean, I'll carry one when I'm in like somewhere that's thick grizzly, but in there I don't. So that I'm trying to think other
Rain gear, what'd you have?
rain gear, dude. I just have old school Kuiu Yukon,
Nothing wrong with that.
you know, and
Good
I just
shit.
treat it. And then now I've been treating. I've gotten where on the bug deal, I just treat everything, all my pants with permethrin or whatever, and that shit works. I don't know if you guys are
Yes.
into it, but it works 100%. So I use that, which is 100%, but it sure as hell makes a difference. I'm trying to think what other stuff that
Do you have any like backcountry treats that you bring every time that's like a reward at the end of the day? Some
Dude,
shit like that?
we talked about diet. So I'm like pretty close to a carnivore diet day to day, and then I go off the rails a little bit in the mountains, but I try to stick to it. Dude, and the things that I'll always eat up there is I like oysters and olive oil.
Oh, yeah?
I do like that.
In there, you take a little weight pain for them, particularly if you don't drink the olive oil.
Does that have a lid that like rolls up like the sardines?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
You ever
my
take wheat
goodness.
thins with it?
Oh, I don't, but that's the way to eat them.
Yeah. Wheat thins and a toothpick.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I usually just eat them off. Eat them
So
off
nasty.
Eat them off my neck. You don't like? You
Oh,
don't?
I fucking
dude.
love them. You eat sardines?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll swap them. Sardines or oysters.
He popped it up.
Yeah.
Smoked oysters.
Oh,
Yeah, dude. There's
oysters.
certain brands.
That
Yeah,
looks
that
like
one's in olive oil.
That looks like a Walmart gas station special.
No,
Dude, look
those
how
are
expensive
delicious.
those
Oh
things
my
are now,
God.
though.
Yeah.
It's gone up, but
It is
those
pretty
things,
expensive.
would get you going.
Oh,
That's
I
a pack
do
of
fucking
12.
like those.
So you're
Yeah.
paying
Yeah.
$3 a can.
Yep, I'll eat that. My
Ugh.
my embarrassing one is I like Bobo bars.
Oh, yeah.
Those would get like particularly in the.
Those are really healthy.
Are they?
No.
Fuck, I mean, I don't. They seem like a candy bar to me, but yeah, I'll
When
get up.
It's got to be fresh though, dude. So you'll go to like a grocery store that don't sell very much. You'll get ones like rock hards. I order them from Bobo's.
Get direct. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Order from direct from fucking Bobo's and just a box at a time or whatever. But that's when they're fresh, they're good.
Yeah, and then my other guilty pleasure is I don't eat the honey stingers, but I just order the generic waffles.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do is I usually have I smoke cigars. It's like my last remaining vice. But
Yes.
I'll take like a cigar torch.
Yeah.
And take one of those waffles.
Oh shit!
They got caramel in them.
Yeah.
And the thing that's annoying about them, those little waffles, is if it's cold at all, they're brittle.
Yeah.
And they're kind of hard to eat. But dude, if you take a cigar, you can do it with a Bic lighter too, but a torch is easier, and just cook the bottom of that thing until the edges, till the caramel starts to leak out of the edges. That shit.
I like how fucking detailed he is. Like right when it gets-
You got to do it that way, and then it'll have like a little bit of like a burnt marshmallow taste to it. But fuck, it's good. Yeah,
Dude.
you guys got to try it.
But now that does sound amazing.
Yeah,
I don't want to short that
yeah.
because I am a fat kid, obviously. What cigar do you like? What brand?
Dude, so I like it. I mean, dude, I'm not a cigar aficionado or whatever, but I smoke a lot of Ashtons.
Ashtons. Never heard of those.
Go ahead.
You can go where you're at and where you live half the year. They have some
Mhm.
really good cigars there.
Yeah. What's interesting is, unfortunately, Puerto Rico doesn't have a whole lot of internal tobacco growing. There's a couple of them, but not that many. But you have access. I mean, you're right in the center of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're a cigar guy?
Didn't used to be. The last 2 years, I've been smoking them like a couple times a week, and I've been getting them from the Dominican Republic.
Oh, yeah.
Ordering them
Yeah.
from down in Puerto Rico. Can't remember the other place I ordered them from. And there's you smoke cigars a lot? There's a big difference between ones that fucking hurt your throat and the ones that are really good that don't.
Yeah, sure.
And I didn't believe that until last
well,
year
and
or
taking
two.
care of them makes a big difference.
Just putting them in the refrigerator in the crisper is the best way to put them.
Sure.
Still in the crisper.
or getting like the little
what?
Throw them in the crisper in your refrigerator. They won't go bad for years.
I don't have that fancy refrigerator.
It doesn't have a fucking crisper in it?
You can buy these little humidity packets.
Is that where those bags of lettuce go to get all frozen up?
Yeah.
Yes.
And unusable?
Yeah, but don't fucking have it on full blast on there. Yeah. Cold. Yeah.
You know, the other ones I like in the backcountry, because I don't like smoking a whole cigar, because then the next day, if I have to hike, like I can still feel it. I like those little punch Diablos. You know what those are?
Yeah, I know what Diablos are.
Yeah. I'll smoke those, but
good stuff.
it's good to have one last vice.
There you go.
Hey, I'm not telling nobody. What did we miss? Anything clothing wise?
No,
anything
dude.
you want to hit? We usually do an hour. We're 2:15, so we did good.
Are we?
Promote all your shit.
Well, on the gear front, I will say that I'm starting to like the Duckworth stuff. I don't know if you guys have used any of it.
I have the wool sweatshirt, the hoodie.
Yeah.
I've had it
like
long
what
before.
Lampers wear.
I had it long before it was cool.
Yeah.
But I do like it.
Are they the
I
ones
see
in
why he likes
Montana?
it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And they got a cool story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I like their stuff.
I think we tried to invite them to Haha, but they were busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
That was
Forum said to contact them.
Yeah. Cool company, cool stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. And I think they're just creeping into the hunting deal. I don't know. You know, they're not really a hunting company, but I like their stuff.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, man.
No, I was actually touching on anything else you wanted to talk about. Where can people stalk you out? It's not hard to find you online.
Yeah, dude, just my name on YouTube's probably, Cliff Gray. And then my Instagram is Cliff GRY, because there's another Cliff Gray that has my
Pursuit with Cliff.
Pursuitwithcliff.com is my website.
Yeah. With
So-
a fucking A, not an E.
That's right, dude. That's right, man.
Now-
That's the best ways to find me.
I really want to get you back on, even if it's remote, after you go through the school.
Yeah,
And
it's
just
good.
like your preconceived notions and then what you learned. And even if it sucked, I want you to say that, you guys need to do
Yeah,
this,
no,
this, and that.
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I really I honestly really look forward to it. Like every year I try to work on, I don't know how big of dorks you guys are on this, but try to work on like some sort of skill set.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
that's up there for me.
Yeah, my dumbass got into mules.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Yeah. That's a long-term one, dude.
Dude, I learned a lot in the last 2 months. I learned a lot. I went over and trained with Leon Raber. Learned so much in 4 fucking days. Unbelievable. Like, I'm an idiot. And then I went there and he was like, you're still an idiot, but you know more.
Yeah. You got dude, the horse deal is lifelong, man.
It is.
But if people can argue with you all day long, all this shit that you're hunting, that you can argue about pack goats and llamas and all that, getting shit done, horses and mules are the best.
Well, you see the
Most
country,
work, but
it's
the
like-
best.
That's horse country. That's
Yeah.
real country. You're wearing out llamas and goats so bad.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any parting
dude.
shots? Any words of wisdom?
No, other than more people need to watch this, man. The ones I've listened to are epic.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
know?
appreciate it.
And the other thing is like back to the preconceived, I mean, not to like pander to you guys, but like I listen to your stuff and I'm like, fuck, are these guys right? Like, you know what I mean? And then it's like, we could talk about the scope thing. Like, I'm like, the fucking scope thing. It's like the whole thing irritates
The
me.
rock slide.
That doesn't irritate me. I'm just,
Oh, Lord.
wondering, like,
That scope test has given me and Jake and Forum more heartburn than
Yeah.
probably anything
Yeah.
else.
yeah, I get it.
It goes
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to your 300 yard and in thing. At 300 yards and in, there's not a lot of things that matter that much.
Right.
It's when you move further out.
Yeah.
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 But the thing is, dude, is I'll just leave it at this. Like, dude, I've sold a shit ton of Leopold scopes, and it's not. I haven't made this. They don't give me any money.
Mhm.
And then I watch, just because I like them. There's other things I like about them. Then
No.
I watch. I'm like, oh,
When you go to the
You know.
school and you watch somebody's scope fail, which is, doesn't even matter what it is, you watch
Yeah.
somebody's scope fail
Yeah.
and what happens at the school, and
What
you
I-
see that enough times, and it
then
wears
you
on
know it's a thing.
It wears
Yeah,
on you.
Jake
yeah.
is spot on. When
Yeah.
you see it happen over, because basically you're almost getting a lifetime of shooting in 1 week.
Yeah, compact. Yeah,
And you'll see these brands, and I don't care about the brand, whatever it
yeah.
is, they start wandering. And you're measured, just so you know, kind of cat out of the bag, you're measured from day one.
I got you.
Everything is measured. And then you notice your zero starts wandering. And you're like, well, that's weird.
Right.
And it tracks back to this certain brands of scopes.
Yeah, I
And
got
it's sort of weird how it follows what's the drop test.
Now, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
that's with all the other mechanicals being sound.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
And they'll go through, like, if something wanders, they're going to go through your whole rifle and redo everything, and then they're going to do it again, and then you're going to watch it wander again, then you're going to put a different scope on, and then the problem solved.
Yeah.
Be like, well, shit.
And is, everything Loctited down, degreased, Loctited.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different
everything
variables.
Everything matters. Every variable matters. You're lucky because you're using my 223 that is 1,000% lockdown. I literally got mad because it had a bad grouping with a certain batch of bullets, and I like threw it, like hucked it.
Yeah.
It was still zeroed.
It's all good.
Yeah.
No, I look forward to it. But I love the topics, man. I really do.
Thank
and
you.
I cannot, I like, again, not pander to you, I can't believe you guys don't have a bigger subscriber base. So anything I can do for you guys, just let me know.
You can come back on.
Yes.
Awesome, dude.
Appreciate you.
Come back on and tell us if we're right or wrong. Appreciate it.
Sounds good.
And if the most interesting guy in the world is Mr. Jordan Jonas, we'd love to have him on too. If you got some,
Oh yeah, he's
he
down.
says
He's
a
down
good
the
friend
road.
of yours.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love to.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What I tell you, man? That's a good podcast, huh? Hey, next time I tell you something, you better listen up. Make sure to leave them boys 5 stars.